I've just sent you through a spreadsheet as well.
Thank you.
On Excel, but it's super tiny. So
okay, we're now live streaming on YouTube. People, welcome to the reconvening of the Grants Committee. As before, this meeting will be recorded and subject to the recording being of suitable quality will be made available on the Council's YouTube channel via a link on the Council's website. And just to remind everyone to turn their cell phones on silent, which I'm doing now. And also, we are holding this meeting via audio conference, and all members participating via the video conference will count for the purposes of the meeting quorum in accordance with Clause 25B of Schedule 7 of the Local Government Act 2002. Do we have any apologies? No?
No, but I noticed Councillor Fox is not yet here.
And Councillor West.
Yes.
Okay. Right. Well, we'll move on through since we don't have any apologies from them. Conflicts of interest. Do we have any conflicts of interest to declare?
No.
No. I will declare a potential conflict of interest with Mayoral Task Force for Jobs. So I will remove myself from any decision making, but only on the basis of the Mayoral Task Force for Jobs. Sorry, the Wairapa Whānau Trust, on the basis of the Mayoral Task Force for Jobs.
The Wairapa Whānau.
Councillor Hay.
I'd previously declared a conflict when I was a trustee of Cobblestones about 4 years ago, but on your advice, you deemed that not to be.
No, not at all. Jippy, what were you saying?
We've decided on the Whānau Trust that was under youth.
Did we indeed? Oh, that's okay. It may come up for further discussion on deliberations. Pam.
I think I previously declared a conflict of interest with the Featherston Community Patrol application, and so I'd like that to stand again, please.
Well, just to recluse yourself from discussion. There are a lot of applications here, so if you are reminded of a potential conflict of interest when we get to a particular application, please let me know, and I don't mind accepting late conflicts of interest, given that there's tens and tens of them. Right, so we don't have any speakers and we're on to the deliberations. So do we want to, Stephanie, if you could advise me, do we receive the report again or can we consider it received?
I think you can consider it received, it's fine.
Right, so we'll get right into it. So Katrina, it was 6 days ago, 7 days ago that we had our first round. Would you like to recap where we're at? We do have.
Yeah, I can do. So we started last week looking at the youth grants. So would you like me to? We did receive that one. We reclassified one of the applications where they had actually put down that they wanted to be considered under community, but actually it really was a youth grant, and that was the Featherston Junior Football Club, I believe.
Yeah. Quite clearly youth, yeah.
Yes, quite clearly youth, I think. So would you like me just to recap on where we got to with the youth grants?
Yes, please, and then we'll go straight into considering the Featherston junior football, and then we'll go on to balances and then go on to community. Fantastic.
Great.
Excuse me, Katrina, before you start, didn't we reclassify Featherston Booktown as well and put that in? Yeah.
Yes, Featherston Booktown's here.
Yeah.
So we split that into two parts. Yeah, the youth book area, and also then it's still within the community as the balance of their application for the general Booktown.
Yes. So Featherston Booktown Trust for the youth component, I've got here that we allocated 15,000. And then Swim with Sophie, 5,000. Divine River New Zealand Trust, 1,500. Let me just, Wairapa Earth School, 2,000. We'll come back to Featherston Junior Football Club. First Greytown Sports Club, 5,000. Wairapa Youth Orchestra, nothing. That was declined at this stage. But we may come back to it. Dragonfly, $2,000. So a total for youth allocated of 60,500 so far, with a balance of $14,000 remaining.
Right.
So if we want to have a look at the Featherston Junior Football Club, that is application number 30. And it's for nets and goalposts. And they're asking for $3,738.
Right.
Excuse me, Katrina, that figure, I'm not sure, does that include the 15,000 from Featherston Book Club?
Booktown, it does, yes.
Booktown?
It should do.
I don't think it,
Is it not adding up properly?
no.
It's in there.
I will just let Katrina.
Yeah,
do
you can all talk about. Yeah, it is in there. Okay, I'll check that.
I'm just struggling on the Stella to find the Featherston Junior Football Club.
Oh, it's number.
30.
I say number 30.
Mine goes from 29 to 31.
Yeah.
No, it's there.
Is it?
Number 30, and they've requested
Cool. Let's run over that.
2964.
It's,
Yeah,
it's
and
called
this is-
Featherston Community Application.
Yeah, and I think it was a very good presentation from Nim. If I'll start this off. I have visited there on a club day, and it is just an absolute hive of activity, and actually alerted me to something we need to do regarding car parking down Underhill Road to actually to accommodate the amount
Yes.
of visitors and people that come in when they're playing junior football.
Mm.
Around the table, what do councillors think?
Totally agree. I went through and did a few figures last night, and I actually put 3,500 down for them. I don't know what other people think, but
Well,
it's
they
well
have,
worthwhile little club.
they've requested exactly how much?
3,738.
3738. Whoops. 3738.
3738. Other councillors? Lee?
I was very impressed with the presentation they gave, and they're just growing and growing the football exponentially, and I would certainly support them. I thought they were extremely good.
Garrett?
What they're doing.
Yeah, I'm very happy to support it. I'm just concerned. I know that Brenda had a concern on this, which she raised with them, and I'm wondering if she's got the information back that she had requested. That would be my only.
Okay, well, given her non-show for this, we actually can't query on that, so we can't get clarification.
So I'm happy to go ahead, but that was my only question mark.
I don't think it didn't seem like she withdrew or turned away from her objection. So whether it has substance, she should have raised it previously. So are we all okay to allocate the amount requested to the Featherston Junior Football Club?
Show of hands.
Show of hands.
So on my spreadsheet, I've actually got 3738. Yep.
Yeah, that's the amount.
Yep.
So we'll pop that in there, and that will then. Can we have a confirmed total on youth grants?
Okay, and I'm just adding up.
Sorry, I'm.
No, you're right. My spreadsheet's just not working, and I'm just trying to get it to work at the same time as. Okay, so we haven't allocated as much as I had said we have allocated. So I'm just going to do this manually while I get my formula to work. So I've allocated $34,238 out of the 75,000.
I'm happy
No,
with that.
no, I've got a totally different figure on my spreadsheet.
What have you got?
So I just want to clarify, House of Science, $5,000.
Yeah.
Swim with Soapy, 5,000. Divine River New Zealand Trust, 1,500. Wairapa Earth, 1,000.
No, we had,
Greytown,
we had
That's 2,000.
That's 2,000.
2,000.
Yeah, I had 2,000.
Yeah.
Right. Greytown Scouts, 5,000. Wairapa Whānau Trust,
Mhm.
25,000.
Yeah.
Youth Orchestra, 0. Featherston Junior Football, 3. Was that 3,778 or 3?
No.
Five.
3,738.
Yes, so we're up to-
3,738.
That's a lot more
Then
than 30.
Dragonfly,
Yeah, it is,
2,000.
Yeah, and it comes to 64,238.
Yep,
Okay.
that's right. And it
So-
also added in the 15,000 from Booktown Youth.
Yes,
Yep.
that's part of that 64. Okay,
Yeah.
let's hold
Yes,
that
you're
figure.
right. That's
Let's hold
right.
that-
Thank
hold that
you.
figure. It might be we want to look at whether we want to keep a buffer or allocate slightly less in this round. And so we'll come back to that once we've looked at the community. Are we cool with that? Just to run over the confirmation on that.
Yep.
Or would you like to? Or would you like to firm that up now before we go into community?
Let's keep going and get to what we end up with. And somebody
Jolly
else might move.
Yeah.
We may
Okay,
come across
Katrina.
other-
Let's. The first one to consider is.
Under community,
Yep.
are we going to do projects first?
I think we'll do projects first. Yes.
Okay, just a moment, I'll just filter.
I'm going to guess it's Access Radio.
It is Access Radio number 4.
Fantastic. And this was Michael
Yep.
Wilson, who gave us a very good presentation as well. What are people's thoughts? My thoughts are, in the South Wairapa, we are the furthest away from Marston and therefore the most expensive for them to actually run this service. But I've always been impressed with their enthusiasm and their outreach and the range that they're doing, and it's a very minor amount in comparison with what I feel our South Wairapa community gets. But what are the people's thoughts?
They seem to be expanding their outreach, I think, from what they said the other day as well. I've always found them very good. Last year we gave 2,000. Carterton and Masterton give 1,500. I just wonder, given the huge number of requests we've got, whether we might consider matching Carterton and Masterton.
I'm going to actually throw a curveball and ask Siv to possibly comment on this, because you are involved on the periphery with what they're doing and what they're trying to, what their aims and aspirations are within the community.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really worthwhile thing to support. I'm not sure if I can comment on the amount. They have an unbelievably large program, and it does reach well and truly into the South Wairapa and represent the South Wairapa community. I think also that, you know, beyond the reach that it has in representing larger groups, it provides a huge amount of well-being and also personal development for the people that do run those programs, and most of those are volunteers. So they get a huge amount of fulfillment and skills through it. So I think it's a really great initiative.
I mean, the comment I've had is they give a voice to the minority. Would you agree with that?
Yes, they do. They've got a very big, absolutely a representation of many minorities in the community. Yeah.
Can I ask, how much involvement do they actually, I know that the radio programs come out to the South Wairapa, but how much of the South Wairapa people are being involved in this? Because that's what I didn't get the other day was...
I can't remember the numbers. I think there were some numbers listed in the application. but my understanding is that they have got a South Wairapa based sort of reporter and presenter. So in addition to the groups that already create their own shows by going up to Masterton, they've got Marina Lira, and she goes out to all parts of the community depending on what's happening and interview them and feature them in their programs.
I've just found in here, so last year 20 organisations and or individuals from South Wairapa district have benefited.
Yeah,
Correct.
and I think they've
Okay.
exceeded what they had hoped to do in their grant application from last year, which is really pleasant to see as well. I just as a quick note, I have had apologies, Suzanne, from Rebecca Fox, Councillor Fox, who is actually unwell and can't make the meeting. So,
Okay, would you like to move, accept?
I'll
those
do it after we've
apologies,
had
or-
this. Actually, let's do it now. I move to accept her apologies. Seconded, Councillor Jepson. All those in favour, please raise your hand. All those against, the motion is carried. Okay, back to Access Radio. Any other councillors with comment on the? Yep, Pam.
I'd like to propose a minimum of 3,000 towards their project. If they're getting to the to 20 organisations or individuals, and that's been screened out to more people within the South Wairapa that are listening to this, to be able to expand on that would be really good, because I think it's community for community, isn't it?
Garrick, what do you think?
I'm in favour. I think it's, I've been involved with him, particularly with Martin Refair, and he supports Rotary. So South Wairapa Rotary gets very involved. And I think he also delivers a good program for the younger audiences, less than my age. So no, happy to support.
To what extent? We have had one proposal of 3,000. I'll do a bit of a tally up.
I'm happy with 3.
Jippy.
Yep, I'm happy with 3.
And Lee?
I fully support them. I've worked with them in the past, but I'm just conscious of the number of requests. So I would probably err on the conservative side of 2,000, simply because of the number of requests we've been getting.
Yeah. We will do a second flush of this, and we can adjust them up and down as we get an idea for the allocation. So I'm probably in the 3 camp. I probably would have gone slightly more, but I'll go with the majority. So if we could note down 3,000, and then we'll revisit this at the end of the meeting.
Okay. Next application is number 11, Featherston Community Centre, and they are looking to install a carport structure, and they're wanting $8,500.
Okay, any discussions on this, people? They do very good work in Featherston. A bit of a background: they have received considerable funding from the PGF through the South Wairapa District Council to the tune of 190,000.
Yeah, around that.
They're well ahead. In addition, and we're not seeing in their budgets, but I do know, but I can't quantify the amount that they have had possibly a windfall with regards to the COVID testing station, of which their community organisations have been resettled for that period at Anzac Hall at council's cost, I think. So personally, I'm mindful, given the amount of money they've had for repairs, maintenance and improvements, to possibly decline this but certainly look at it next year. Your thoughts?
Given the level of funding they've had previously, I would agree with that, Alex. I'd be comfortable with that.
Pam? Well, Garrick's got Garrick, you attended their AGM recently too.
Yes, I did. It was very interesting, and they were very positive about the response of council and what they were doing. Their tar ceiling has gone ahead. The place is looking very smart. Being hard-nosed, we have a lot of other stuff coming through, and they're looking fairly smart at the moment. Whether we go with half, I don't know, but I'm tempted at this stage to hold fire until we see how the others go.
Right. Sorry.
Yeah, I would agree with Garrick. Yep. We just hold fire and we can have a look back and see what savings we've made.
So you are also agreeing with 50% or nothing? I think Garrick's
50%.
You're at 50%. So we're at 2 at 50%, 2 at nothing. I think Pam, you may have the decider.
Can I suggest that we put a question mark against it and come back to it at the end before we decide, so that we see where we're at with the other application, because they have had money before from us and also the big government grant, that maybe we just put a question mark beside that and come back at the end to look at that.
So let's just put that as just a little bit of a dash at the moment, but to revisit with the rest. Cool. Thank you, guys.
Okay, next, application number 16, Greytown Heritage Trust. They'd like to upgrade their website and leaflets, and they're looking for $1,750 to do that.
Okay, would you, Greytown Councillor Hay, would you like to spark this one off?
Look, I'd fully support this application. They're not asking for a large amount, and they do a huge amount of work around the Greytown heritage with their walks and their signage. And they also, over the years, have done quite a lot of voluntary work for council, you know, when they've been asked for guidance on certain issues. So I'd fully support that, the full amount of $1,750. And one thing you will know that a lot of brochures often get not used, but they're very parsimonious in their use, and they ensure that every last brochure gets used before they then print the next one. So they're very prudent with the money.
Okay. Pam?
Yep, I'm happy with that. I think Greytown's renowned for its heritage, and anything that promotes that and gets that out into the wider community and overseas visitors and things like that, it's certainly worthwhile. So I would, 1750 would be acceptable.
I'm in two minds on this, in as much as we did fully fund the original brochure to the tune of $5,150 last year, which was a large amount. And whether or not I feel whether or not they should be going to the business owners to make up the balance on this one. I didn't expect this to be a double whammy last year when to get another request for funding. So I'm mindful to respectfully decline. Garrick.
I'm just concerned about the relationship between heritage and cobblestones. I mean, can they not share in these sort of publications? I'm assuming they do. And there'd be some spin-off there, which would give them another funding line into to that sort of thing, particularly as we funded the 5,000 last time.
Jeppy.
Oh, well, I was happy to meet them halfway and actually put in $1,000. So yeah, I can see they do a good job, and I actually had thought along Garrick's lines too, that we've got a couple of heritage outfits in Greytown, but yeah, I'm still happy at $1,000. So.
Can I just clarify one point? That 5,000 last year was for the signs, not a brochure.
No, it was as a project for the creation, laying out, and production of the Greytown Heritage Trail, which is, and this is an adaptation of this one. Am I correct, Katrina?
Sorry, Alex, I'm unsure.
No, I do remember this one because they came to.
There's two components to it. One is the signage, which is the Greytown Trail, and the other component is the brochure, which is a printed brochure. So last year it was for the signs on the Greytown Trail. And just to answer your question, Garrick, they don't work, neither of them have got the funds to produce or help each other with payment for brochures, and they're quite different, the brochures.
I
couldn't be joined here.
Yeah, I'm quite sure that 5,000 included the brochures, and in fact they do have the brochures existent, and they wanted to colorize them and upgrade them as opposed to create new ones. So
they're actually saying on their application that if there's a shortfall, they're going to take the money from the trust signage, actual physical signs budget on their application.
right.
So I don't know whether there's still more money within that they haven't spent from that budget, but if there is, then I would respectfully say that they use the signage budget to do that.
Let's in the sake of moving on, is everyone comfortable with us penciling in $1,000 towards this, and with the intention to revisit? Are you okay with that, Jebby? Steve?
Just a question. Have they provided a report for the previous funding? Because I thought that in order to be eligible for new funding, they would actually have to report on previous funding.
Yeah, any funding that we're making tonight will be dependent on them satisfactorily providing an accountability form. Is that correct, Katrina?
Correct. Yeah.
Because I don't want to decline the entire application if they're, mind you, it should be in by now, really. But let's give them a bit of leeway.
The accountability form is in.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so we'll pencil $1,000 in for them at the moment.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on, application number 20 is next. Kahutara Parents and Citizens. Now, once again, they've put in as a community grant, not a youth grant. And I think the reason is because they're asking for equipment for the local community and the all-weather sports court, opposed to just for the children, is what I'm thinking. I'm not sure. And they're asking for 15,000.
Yeah, the all-weather court is actually at the school and predominantly for use by the school. So
it is.
I'm wondering whether this should be in use as well. Because I have seen this project. I think this project has been shown to the Martinborough Community Board before, and to my mind, it was 100% youth in their ability to host school tournaments. What is that? What other people think? Should this be popular to youth?
Well, yeah, maybe, but they applied last year, and didn't we suggest that they come back to us this year?
I think they applied in the second round. My
right.
recollection is so in February, and I think we sent them to talk to the Martinborough Community Board with regard to what was available via Payne Farm Fund. So I don't know how they got on there. Alex, you might be able to.
No, I have no idea whether it came up or not. Steph, I don't know whether you recall seeing something of that come through from Steph. Steph.
Steph's not here, sorry, and I don't see them.
All right. Well, let's assume they haven't got funding because it's not part of their application that they have. I mean, this is a very noble one, but it's a lot of money. I think the total project is in the hundreds of thousands. To do this.
Can we not, as you suggested, put it back into the youth?
Okay, let's consider this then under youth.
Okay.
Is it our intention to allocate the full amount of funding in this round, or is there a desire to do two rounds as we did last financial year? Garrett?
My concern is that last time we found out there was some late arrivals, and it was quite handy having a bit of money left in the kitty.
It was, but a lot of the late arrivals were through forgetting to put in an application, the crucial ones. And that was what concerned me then. But we have had the main ones put forward already. And if given that I know the names of the people who have applied to Marston and Carterton, there's no one there that I'm concerned about that wouldn't have been aware that this funding was going ahead.
All All right. And they've had plenty of notice it's going on. So, yep.
Are we comfortable with punting this into youth and considering it under youth grants? Cool.
Yep.
Lee, you're fine with that? I'm quite sure it is youth. I have seen this presentation before.
Well, it's going into a school, isn't it?
Yes.
It is.
Yes. And even though adults will probably use it outside school hours, it's going to be predominantly for the school.
Much like a scout meet. Yeah.
And my question is, what funding is the Ministry of Education giving towards this? And if not, why not?
I think if they could have got the money from the Ministry of Education, they would. We know, looking at the procedure for Kurunui, how parsimonious the MOE can be with regards to this sort of stuff. And I don't think they would have applied to us if they had MOE funding. And it is only a very small part of the total cost. Lee, did you put your hand up there?
No, sorry, I was just going scratching my head. I'm just
and also, if I recall correctly, this is the first time I've seen the Kahutara come up for the community for the 150th for some funding at the community board. But apart from that, they're a very silent part of our community. And I really would like to recognise that they don't come cap in hand very often.
And the school is expanding. The school role is. I'm happy that we consider it under any, but yes, definitely consider it. So if you want to put it into youth, do you look at 10,000 under youth? Or
you're thinking exactly what I was thinking. What does everyone else think? Don't forget, we will rehash this.
Yeah.
GP's okay with that? Katrina, what were you?
I was sorry. I was just going to say it's also quite nice to see a rural community coming forward for a grant as well, because this is actually one of the only rural, I think, applications that we've got from a rural community. So
Dragonfly, they were
rural as well?
based.
Yeah.
I think they've done a very good job, and they've got the all-weather thing in. So I think we should be supporting them. Very happy to.
Lee?
we've got 10,000 left thus far in youth. So if the common consensus is 10,000, I'm happy to go with that. They've done a very good job in raising money in the community thus far.
So let's pop that in there, Katrina.
Yep.
Good thinking. Who suggested to put that into youth? That was a very good idea.
Okay, moving on. Application number 28, Wellington Regional Sports Education Trust, and they are looking for $3,000. What are they looking for? Potential sports facilities to benefit the whole community.
Yes, this was a presentation from Dale, who's a long-time employee, and basically I think her comment was it's to fund to make sure that she can continue in the role. Nuku Ora, which is the overall Sport Wellington, I think is she. This is part of Sport Wellington.
It is.
So it is the majority funded by government. What are people's thoughts on this and their presence in the South Wairapa? I know in Greytown, all this sort of stuff is handled by pretty much the Greytown Sports and Leisure. I don't know what involvement this has in the Featherston or Martinborough communities. Steve?
I think it's potentially a really fantastic initiative. I think partly they're seeking funding for Dale's role to continue and liaising and building relationships with mana whenua and our Māori population, which often don't have as many opportunities to have an active lifestyle and experience more barriers. The other thing is I think they're asking for funding towards sort of are they not asking for funding for a coordinator or region-wide as well, which would definitely support the rural communities? And I do know that they're looking at Featherston. They've identified Featherston as a potential focus area where there are more barriers to that kind of participation in physical active lifestyles.
Yeah. So yeah, their analysis is that it's a report on potential sports facilities to benefit the whole community and get those less active more active, which is their new goal with the Nuku Ora with regards to any sort of exercise, good exercises, as opposed to looking at high level sports. So I do approve that because it ties in with so much of our objectives with regards to cycle trail, walking and mode share transportation. It's just one of those big organizations that you keep putting money into. What are people's thoughts? They're asking for $3,000. It's not a huge amount, but it is still $3,000.
I just thinking about Greytown Sports and Leisure, the fantastic work that Featherston Junior Football Club, for example, are doing. Pam would be able to speak more about Martinborough, but I just wonder whether this is a bit of cross-funding, and I'm a bit hesitant about it, more because I think they've got other funding avenues.
Right. Pam?
It is to fund Dale. It is to fund the new role in coordinating or continuing with relationships between the TAs, mana whenua, and living and the Sport Wairarapa's Living Well Wairapa strategy, and their potential or their particular interest with this grant is Featherston. So if they can, Featherston's got, my understanding, Garrett can correct me, but you've got some quite active sports groups within Featherston. So whether there's going to be a little bit of coordination that Dale's going to do with regard to that, or whether it's just purely funding her role to be able to get out into the community, makes it a little difficult to decide, doesn't it?
Can I just comment? Featherston, we have a very active swimming club. We have a very active football club. There's a very active cricket club there, and it's growing by itself.
Yeah.
And wrestling, yes. And I'm just wondering what the impact's going to be when, in fact, that all those avenues are there, and we've only at this stage been approached by the football club.
Again, we can't preempt that. Obviously, they feel secure in their funding. We can't. We look at the applications we have in front of us, Garrick. Yeah, Chippy, your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I'd written a note down there when Dale presented that when they did a survey, 91% of the people they canvassed said their involvement increased their pride in the Wairapa, and I'm really trying to remember what was it all around. But I mean, Dale's been around for a while. She's got a lot of mana out there with sports people, and it's not a hell of a lot of money, but it's worth considering. I'd support it, but maybe not to the $3,000.
Yeah, I mean, yes.
I might just also add that, like you pointed out, for instance, the Greytown Sports and Leisure are doing an amazing job, and that model is working really well for the Greytown community. I'm just getting to know the Martinborough community. But in Featherston, there are lots of really, like you say, really thriving clubs. I think that what Dale could really bring to the party is that, and the other person, is to make sure that there's enough opportunities for school children. It is not just after school, it's also in school. And those rural and Maori communities, but also Featherston has got a lot of clubs that are not very good at working together. So I think she could also help that to work a bit better.
Cool. Thank you, sir. Look, okay, is everyone happy with us throwing 2,000 in and to revisit this at the end? Or would you prefer to the full amount or nothing? So I'm gonna punt up 2,000. I can change it. All those in favour of putting 2,000 in to the spreadsheet. Cool.
Yep, okay.
Jolly good.
Cool. Thanks,
I
We
was
can
guys.
going
up
to
it at
say
the end.
3, but if you
Yeah,
go,
we can up it at the end, Pam. So just make a note to
Yeah.
raise that again.
Yeah.
All right, Katrina.
Next up is application number 29. This is the Pepawai Community Trust. And they are looking for funding for riparian planting for the Pepawai Mangarara stream. And they're looking for $11,000. This is one that I remember Councillor Fox actually discussing potentially different ways of getting money for this riparian funding, but you
Yeah.
also will have some, yeah.
And
it was
I'd love to
me,
do-
Kaka, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
What I'd love to do is actually have a couple of Greytown elected officials in some form to actually work with them to get that funding. Sometimes a different view, and I know there's Billion Trees Fund, there is Ministry for the Environment funding, there's Greater Wellington Regional Council funding because it is a waterway and they are responsible for them. However, I would like to support them in some way for some of those costs that may not be as easy to procure as opposed to labour and plants. There's still other stuff that needs to be done. What are your thoughts? Because this is an admirable community project. Yeah, exactly what we want to see.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Alec, and it'll get a lot of people involved down there, and even people from within the urban township of Greytown, and I think it's a great initiative. But yes, there is plenty of funding out there for trees and all the rest of it, and I think we should consider it, but not by what they're wanting.
Yeah, and it may even be, Shocker, close your ears, Katrina, that Bryce may have some amenities budget if there's actually publicly accessible. You know, so there are a lot of streams, excuse the pun, available from a riparian planting perspective. I'm going to suggest we throw 3K in, or two or three or something like that in there.
I'd be happy with.
Thank you, Jiminy Crickets. Garrett, you had your hand up.
Yes, I can support. I'd like to support that, but I'm just going to say that Rotary was very involved with the plantings and restoration of Tate's Reserve, and I'm just wondering whether, as you say, organisations like that are actually geared up. And I think if we go and do a bit of shoulder tapping and help them do it, by all means. But there are people out there who've actually, I say, Tate's Reserve is a great benefit for the town.
So Katrina, could we pencil in 10 with the? Sorry, two.
Just about gave Lee kittens.
They've already landed.
With the offer of elected official support and gathering other support from other organisations.
I'd be happy to do that, because the other comment I did suggest was that there may be some sponsorship opportunities with Palmer's, Leaflands, those sort of organisations, and I think they should definitely pursue those, but I'd be very happy to help them.
Good.
I think you're right, Alec. Offer them support in kind, as well as, you know, a little bit of money.
I actually think we should offer them 5, because they've done all the work with the eels and things in there, and they've now got those, you know, a lovely, they've done a lot of work with the eel and in that area, and this supports that life in the river. And
that's one I would truly be going to Greater Wellington as their core responsibility on waterways and wetlands restoration. So I think the rest of that money should be very easily achieved from there, and then we can throw Garrick on there to lean on Rotary.
So what are we saying? 3?
I think 2 is an indication that we do support it, but we think they can raise even more than a letter.
So,
Okay.
Cool.
So next up is number 31, Greytown Football Club, and they're looking for a line marking machine, and they're looking for $3,690.
Very similar to the posts in Featherston, isn't it? As a number. All right, people, what are your thoughts, Lee?
Look, I think they do a great job, the football club. And one thing I am always impressed with is they do a lot of fundraising themselves. And that, for me, I find that great. That they're doing a lot of self-help. So can you just confirm we gave them 2,369 last year, Katrina, from what I can see? I would support that. One question that I didn't quite know, could that line marking machine be used by other sports groups? Would there be a need for a line marking machine that could be shared?
I think there's always a need for line marking machines.
So, I mean, what I'm saying is it wouldn't exclusively be.
Well, if we fund it fully, we could put it with the proviso that it's available to other sports teams on a need basis, rather than we won't want to hear them saying, no, it's ours, and even though we're not using it, you might damage it. So we could tag the funding with the expectation
that it's shared. I'd be happy with that.
Yeah. See,
I think things like tennis courts also require line marking, so there's quite a bit of demand for it.
That's it.
Yeah, I agree with your suggestion, Alex. I think it could come to good use and for other groups in the community. I was of the opinion that the city care would be marking lines for the sports teams, but I guess that's not the case.
I think if they have a need for it, they would be getting it. And I think if it was on a private sports ground or there would be a charge associated with that. Yeah.
Bryce is kind of available. Do you want me to go and get him to come and?
No. I think if there was someone doing it for them, they wouldn't be asking for it. I don't think we need to bother Bryce.
Okay.
Yeah, Pam.
I was going to say I would be happy to support it if they offer it to like Martinborough and Featherston that also have the football clubs, because I presume football is the soccer.
Yep.
That they have this soccer club here, and they don't have a line marker, and they haven't asked for funding or anything like that. But if we support one with Greytown, then it's offered to the other two towns for their needs as well.
Okay. So I will tag. So we'll pop that dollars in, Katrina, but tag it that they let other sports clubs know they have it and it's available for loan.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so they do need to actively advertise that they have it. So yeah, not just Greytown. No.
Yeah.
Alec, I wondered, I had a look at it last night, whether this should be fitting, we should be putting this into youth.
No, the majority of rugby players are actually in the, I would be over 18 at that club. It is partially youth, but I think it is an adult rugby club in general.
Gotcha.
That would have been too easy, Jeppy.
We haven't got any money left in youth anyway.
We haven't done our second flush yet.
No, we haven't. Okay, so if we move on to application number 32, Wairapa Vintage Machinery Club, and they were looking for some support to assist them run the Wairapa Wheels Show at the AMP grounds, and they're looking for $4,000.
Is this
the AMP show's been cancelled?
Is this the same AMP show that's been cancelled though?
Yeah.
Is it?
Well, it was only in the paper yesterday or the day before.
Yes, it was. So this one's February 2022. So I'm not sure if it is that one.
That's a master AMP in February.
There's one at Clearville and one at Solway, isn't there? So
yeah, the Solway one's in February and the Clearville one's in late October.
So it'll be the Clearville that's cancelled at this stage, I'd say.
Yeah, so this is still live, this application. Yeah.
This was the one where they'd taken inspiration from a Wanaka, where they have wings over Wanaka and they have wheels over Wanaka. And so this is going to be their first event ever. And that's definitely going to be February 22. I just have some concerns that the event's a little bit of an unknown, and there seem to be possibly a lot more detail that needed to be sorted out before, we sort of understood the nature of what it would involve. That was just my concern. It was this will be the first event they've ever had.
I mean, I think events in their first year are probably the ones that we need to be more careful. We need to actually support. However, in their financials, they did show an expected profit of $20,000. And also, they also showed that they required if I'm off the top of my head, $7,000 worth of council funding, and they've already received $6,000 from Masterton and from Carterton. So we are in a position of overfunding them. And so as admirable as it is, I do not feel that we need to fund this. Yeah, Pam.
Agree.
And then Gareth.
I'd like to support it because it has the potential to be like Wings over Wairapa, in that you've got the different people coming. So if people come to Wings over Wairapa, then they're going to look at the machinery or the wheels type thing as well. And the one in Wanaka is huge from my understanding of it. And to fund as seed funding 2,000 is not going to break the bank, but it is going to show support from our area as South Wairapa to a new venture.
Cool.
And if we put in the same as Carterton, yeah.
Cool. Gareth?
I'm just reflecting on the benefit to South Wairapa. I guess you're right, they will be using other facilities, but are you looking at 2,000 or 4?
Well, again, if you go back to, they're requesting 7,000 worth of combined council funding. They've already got 6. So I think we should be looking at $1,000 if we're going to be funding, if we stick to their financials that they have submitted. It might also be that we tag it saying, should you run at a loss? This funding is we could also do that. Jimmy?
I was going to suggest that we offer them 1,000 based on what you just said, subject to them having an event this year, because there could be a chance that they may not have an event and they're getting the funding without delivering.
Katrina, I think that is inherent in all of our applications. Didn't we receive? We've received funding back in the past.
We have. Yes, if they don't use the funding, they're expected to pay it back.
Yeah.
And certainly, if they chose not to do that, I don't think council would be in a position to want to extend any more funding towards them.
Should we pop it? Is it okay to pop in $1,000, which is then still fulfilling their funding requirements from councils?
Great. Okay.
Is everyone okay with that?
Is everyone happy with that?
So they had 12,000. So they had 4,000 from Carterton, 4,000 from Masterton, and 4,000 from us. So that's 12,000 they were asking for, and they've got 6 so far between Masterton and Carterton. So,
okay. Perhaps my numbers are incorrect. I'm going to have to go back to that. If you just excuse me while I pull up their application. Yep. It may
number
be
32.
Vintage machinery. There we go. Just hold fire, because I may be putting you wrong.
I think what you're suggesting, Pam, is that they asked for 4,000 from each council. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And they've received 6.
Okay, but if you look at their budget, Wheels budget, they are saying grants 3 district councils $7,000.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, they're looking at a net profit on that of 21,360.
So is that in the wording, Alex?
It's in their attached Wheels at Wairapa 2022 budget.
Ah, sorry, I was just looking at their application funding requirement. Yeah.
So there's a bit of a mismatch there.
Yeah.
But even if their budget is accurate, then they're going to be well and truly overfunded.
stick to the suggestion that we had, that we give them 1,000 subject to them holding an event.
Yep. We will go to, as per their budget, which they suggest in their financial application, which is as per budget, and that's what we can go with. So we'll chip in that extra grand, and hope it goes well. And I'll also go and visit. Are we okay with that?
Have you got a car that's old enough?
Yes. Right, back to
Okay, so next cab off the rank is Wharikaha, I believe. And they are looking for a new call bell system. And they're asking for $12,000 this year. I'm just logging into last year's just to see. I thought we'd given them funding last year for those water tanks and stuff.
We did, yeah.
If you guys just discuss that and give me a couple of seconds and I'll just look that up.
I think it was the remains of a project that was partially funded, and they have since actually installed them.
Yeah.
I was a little concerned about this because they're putting the call system in the home, but they're disregarding the independent living units, which are part of their core business, or if you want to say. So they've created all these independent living units which have the older people living in them, but they're saying that they're not going to have the alarm bells going into them, so they have to use the ambulance system. So that was grated with me totally.
I mean, I think we can only go to their application, and obviously they know more about the situation than that we do. And it may be that they have a different provision or a medic alerts or something for the balance of the units. But this is an internal integrated unit as opposed to one that goes over distance. So I think we've just got to look at what they know that they want or need.
I'm not happy.
What, they're not asking for more?
No, that they've asked for so much.
Yeah. I mean,
I think the other question I had to them the other day was whether it might reduce costs by having a separate front door system compared to the internal ones.
Yeah.
But I'm mulling it over, I think, with COVID, if we get another lockdown, you've got elderly people, I would think they'd probably want to have quite a good bell system installed.
Yeah, I think they know their business better than we know their business, and this is what they've asked for and said they need. So I'm sure that we don't need to that could end us days in committee meetings discussing the mechanics of their application.
We still don't have their accountability form from their last lot of funding.
No, we don't. We gave them $10,000 in the first round last year for the water tanks. I would have to follow up on that accountability form.
But I mean, Wharikaha is one of our few aged care facilities in the South Wairapa. To give you an example, when a lack of funding nearly caused Oamaru to close, that the council had to take over the entire thing to keep it running. It was so important to the community. And we don't want to get it into an Arbor House type situation where they're not talking to us, but they don't have enough funding to continue. So, and they still need to be a minimum level of compliance for safety for their residents. So, I'm torn on this one, given the amount that it is, but also the role they play in the whole South Wairapa.
You're absolutely right, Alex, and I thought the same, but I put a figure down initially of 8.
8? Right.
I had a figure of 5. Are you surprised?
You're a harsh
You're
woman.
not from Martinborough, though, are you?
Well, just that I would expect, for example, I remember, I think last year they asked for money for new hospital beds, I think. So I would just...
Water
In
tanks,
addition,
wasn't it?
They applied twice. They applied for both rounds last year. So the first one was the 10,000 we allocated for the water tanks. And I think you're right, Lee, the second round was for the beds, which we
And we
didn't give them
declined
anything.
that. Yeah.
We declined that.
So my thinking is that, you know, I would expect they do some fundraising. They've done great fundraisers in the past. So that's why, and again, I'm just thinking of the number of applications. We'd give full amounts to, you know, a large amount of these people, but we can't afford it.
Yeah. Garrick, what are your thoughts on this one?
I'm just concerned as to how much other fundraising goes on. To be honest, I haven't gone through the accounts, but it seems to me that they, as you say, they are the number one in the South Wairapa, so they should have access to considerable
I think
funding.
they're, from what I can gather from their accounts, is they are at a constant level of shortfall. Because they are in the medical area of rising costs over and above inflation. And I know they have a trust and they have auxiliaries and lots of people doing a lot of volunteer work as well as fundraising. It's not an easy job. So
I'd be happy to do 6.
6,
which is half of what they're asking for.
Garrett, have you got a number? Is it from 0 to 12?
I wasn't looking at 5, but I'm happy to go to 6. Support my comment.
6. Thanks for making it difficult, Garrick. 5.5. Jeffy, you said.
Well, I was initially 8, but I am happy to go down to 6.
Okay, the consensus is the 6K mark. So if we want to pencil that down and revisit, that is a nice, neat 50% of their request.
Yep.
Okay. Moving on to application number 44, Wairapa Safer Community Trust. They are looking for $10,000 to deliver 8 module programs per year. I'm not sure over what
a very good presentation from the lady, and I do forget her name, unfortunately, but very much stressing or underlining the fact that it is funding dependent with this service occurs. And it was quite, to my mind, quite confronting that the DHB does not front for these sorts of rural requirements. And so in that respect, it was a very good presentation from, and it also actually emphasizes the importance of the grants we give out, because there is not necessarily a government department default. What are your thoughts on this, guys? I know it's a huge amount of money.
If I can, sorry, Alex, if I can just interrupt and just let you all know that it's not on the spreadsheet, but we did give them $8,000 last year as well for the same assistance.
I was just going to ask that, Katrina, because I know Sam Williams well, and I know they do a very good job down there or around the Wairapa. And yeah, I do remember them coming previous councils. Yeah,
I agree that they do a lot of good work. They used to, when we used to have the committee, the Safer Committee, and in the district council, they were always part of that, and very good in the community and their liaison with police and things like that. So.
Sorry, Katrina, what did we give them last year? Did you say 10,000?
No, 8.
8.
Garrick, I think we've had conversations after the last funding round a year ago about if we were only able to partially fund, we could go to South Wairapa Rotary with some recommendations. Do you think that still holds true, or do you think that their funds are committed?
I wouldn't want to commit anybody, Alex. But
okay,
no.
Okay. So it's standalone. Is it 10,000?
8. I'm thinking 8, same as last year.
Right. This is a real A plus B. If we fund 8, we'll get 8 worth of work. You know, if we fund 10, we'll get 10 worth of work. I think that was quite clear out of the presentation. So, Lee, I'm going to guess what you're going to say.
You can't. No, I'd be happy to go. I was very impressed with the presentation the other day, and I know they do a lot of good work. I'd be happy to go with 8.
Right. Pam?
8.
Garrick?
Yep.
There we go.
Yep.
Okay.
Katrina.
So that means we've allocated $26,690 in total so far to project funding for communities.
Is that all? That seemed a bit light.
No, because of course 10,000 of that was kahutara parents, which is youth.
Okay, right, cool.
The only
Right,
one
we
that
have
we
a break.
didn't, sorry?
Can we have a break now?
Sure. We'll just get Katrina's wrap up on the
Yep.
project.
Yeah, just give us a breakdown on
The only
goal.
one that at the moment that we under the project funding that we didn't allocate any money to was Featherston Community Centre for their carport.
Yeah, I'm fine with the way we did that one. So we'll still hold that with a question mark,
Okay.
and we'll do the rinse and repeat. Everyone okay to go out for a quick glass of wine? We'll reconvene at 6:45, or would you like a quarter of an hour?
No, 6:45's good.
6:40.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Thanks, Alex.
Okay,
Thanks.
see you
Thank
soon.
you.
See you soon.
I hope that's coffee in there, Alex. You're on mute. You're on mute, mate. Pam's having a quick scoff as well.
I
God.
have a beef, coconut beef stir fry with almonds on rice.
Very good.
Is that the best you can offer us?
I've got macaroni cheese being cooked.
I'm
That sounds
starving.
yummy.
What
I've got
have you
no
having?
dinner.
No dinner.
Oh. I haven't got a wife to cook me some dinner.
Oh dear.
You just
we're-
got my wee text, Alex?
No, because my phone's on silent as it should be.
Yeah, mine was too.
Look, I've got a text from Lee.
Not text, text.
Oh,
should we?
yeah. All right. Okay. So we'll reconvene. So we'll now start with the partnership funding.
Just a minute. Partnership.
So I don't know how you all want to sort of move through this, whether you want to, first of all, go down the list and go yes, no, or whether you want to just look at each of them individually.
I think we'll do each individually because with the assumption that it is a funding through to April 2023, is that correct?
Correct, yeah.
So because that's the lens, because it's all or nothing. So I don't think there's any point in going through.
Okay, yep.
Yeah.
All right, so first cab off the rank is number 1,
Yep.
Wairapa Road Safety Council. And we all know that they do the young drivers licensing stuff, and they're looking for $5,000 per year.
Well worth it. Well worth it.
It is well worth it, but with my other Mayoral Task Force jobs hat on, this falls squarely under what we're trying to do and what we've offered to do within the Mayoral Task Force jobs funding. So I would actually suggest that we decline it, but subject to Alistair agreeing, this is something that we would fund fully through MTFJ.
Well, yeah.
Because we have a stated objective for every youth to receive a driver's license. And we're also discussing this with Kirinu College and their project as well. So there's probably no need for council funding on this. We will do this through MTFJ.
Well, given that information, Alex, yep, I agree.
Cool.
Yeah, thank you.
As long as you think it can be funded through that way, it'd be great.
Yeah, it kind of is already. So yeah. So Lee, you'll be ecstatic with that start to this round. Yep. Next one, Balloon Festival, is it?
It is the Wairapa Balloon Festival, and they're looking for $10,000.
And
I see Carterton haven't given them anything.
I think they have, but I'm just not sure whether it was through a different funding than the vehicle, than this sort of funding.
Yeah.
Because it is based in Carterton, I think their main area is Clearville. So
Katrina, are you able to tell us when the last balloon, I know they've cancelled a couple, when was the last time we funded them, if we did?
I will have a look. It definitely wasn't last year. I think it was the year before that. Okay, I'll just very quickly look at last year's.
We got everything but 3,000 back to cover operational costs due to the cancellation. But I would be interested on what our total amount that we funded them was or agreed to.
I'm just looking at both of them for the funding rounds.
I mean, taking on board that they do enjoy lifting off from the South Wairapa, but their core area is still Carterton. So if we look at economic benefit, my gut feeling is that funding slightly less than Carterton would be a fair apportionment of funding based on benefit.
I think they have two of.
And they must have asked Carterton for 20,000 because they said other council grants was 30,000 and Masterton's given them 10, so that leaves 20. And then they've asked us for 10. They're looking at Trust House for 50, and then they're looking at commercial sponsorship for an extra 30. So there's a fair bit of sponsorship in there for the balloons.
Yeah, so I have found the last time we gave them any funding was the year before last, so 2019-20, and we gave them $3,000.
Total?
Total.
That was all. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I think from memory, you could remind me of this, Pam and Jeppy, but they had two morning events, one in Greytown and one in Martinborough. Is that correct?
Yeah.
I think they'll do an event wherever a commercial organisation asks them to. So, I mean, the vineyards or the cafes around the South Wairapa are sitters to have liftoffs. I think that was the content of their presentation to us. But it's definitely Greytown, and definitely Greytown Soldiers Memorial, if I remember last time. And Martinborough was in the square, actually. They were doing liftoffs and around the square.
I do wonder whether this should actually be project funding. But yeah. For some years they don't hold it, do they?
But it's every second year, so even if we give them partnership funding, it's only for one term.
Right. Okay.
Isn't it?
I'd like to see them get something for the simple reason it is free to our ratepayers and citizens, and it is if the weather's right, it is spectacular seeing them over it.
It is.
And the benefit from 10,000 investment is probably well worth the investment, but because it'll be just one off, because they won't hold it.
The application, I'm looking at the 3,000, which they said we gave them last time. Is that not correct?
It is correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
So why are we going to 10?
I wouldn't give them 10. Surprise.
Well, they won't come to Greytown.
They came last time and we gave them 3,000. So
yeah, I mean, I'm happy to put 5, but I think 10's a lot.
Well, 10's far too much. Far too much.
All right. Well,
Five.
are we okay to pencil in 5? Pam, are you okay with that?
Yeah. I've got a question mark beside it.
It is, but I think that actually does balance nicely with Masterton's 10.
Yeah.
And from a size or even economic benefit, given their accommodation base.
Yeah. Okay, 5 it is.
Thank
And
you.
they're only going to get that once. They won't get that next year as well, will
Well,
they?
there won't be an event next year, so no.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got that down for 5,000 for now. So the next one is number 3, which is Sanderville, which is the Cycle Classic. So this is obviously a profitable or a company, but under the new policy, they can apply as long as the benefit is largely to the district, and it's something that you do want to support.
We decided not to fund them last year.
Correct.
He still brought the event to the South Wairapa. It is a one-day event. I'll give him that. So I think we do kind of need to look at a regional benefit on this one as well. I have looked through his accounts quite carefully, and while there might be a minor wage paid to him, it's not a profitable event. So I'm going to change my stance on you're making money to being you're doing it for the love of it.
Yeah.
So if anyone disagrees with me, let me know. But I did pore over it very carefully.
Yeah. And he seems to have self-funded quite a bit of the seed funding in there to get it off the ground.
He makes a living off it. And I was down watching it last year, and it is quite an event, and it is quite an iconic event. They are getting a lot more funding this year by finishing it in Wellington. I understand that Wellington Events has attracted them to have the final race in Wellington. Instead of
do they get support from Destination Wairapa on this, Alec?
Destination Wairapa isn't a funding organisation for events. The only one that it might be Wellington NZ under their event funding. But I don't think that's shown in his funding application.
No, it's not.
Do they actually stay in our accommodation places, or are they more likely to be staying up near a Masterton? Because
they all stay. Pretty much look, it depends on the hangers-on or spectators, of which there are a lot, but the teams tend to stay in the Copthorne, which then they set up gyms for their training, and their all their food is carbo loaded, in big buffets and everything. So it's not really an Airbnb event unless you have the spectators or families or support crews.
Then I'd like to fund them 5,000, the same as we do the balloons, because that's like a one-day event in the South Island, South Wairapa.
Well, if you look at it from a parity, you're absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is substantially less than his request of 22.
But it's better than last year's.
Well, he got nothing.
I know.
But I think you've also got to realise it is only a one-day event.
Yeah, absolutely. 22 for one day is a lot of coin.
But I do appreciate what he does.
Oh,
So do I.
Yeah.
And being a cycling parent, I do know, being a groupie, I do know that they do take a lot of money to run these events, because there's so much traffic management involved and all sorts of stuff. But yeah.
So, look, shall we do pencil in 5? Lee, if you can handle that.
Yep. What I was going, just a minute. So would that, Katrina, then commit us to 5 this year and 5 next year?
Correct. It would.
Are you all comfortable with that?
If we're comfortable with funding them 1 year, we're comfortable funding them again, I think.
You could put some criteria around that they that it was on the proviso next year that they actually run an event every year, so they'll only get the funding if they run the event.
But they run an event in the South Wairapa.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
They've attracted some very big donations there, though, with Trust House and Fagans and Mitre 10. I mean, he's doing very well, and good on him.
Cool.
Right.
Okay, Katrina.
Okay. All right, that's just typing there. Next is number 5, Order of St. John. And they're looking for $5,000 ongoing funding from us.
Yeah. I note that Marston had given them 2.5 and Castleton 4, which I suppose is logical given distance and costs of transportation. If we're looking at Marston as being the main destination for hospital appointments.
Can I ask, what's our relationship with them and with Wellington Free?
free ambulance. Yeah.
They're separate, and this is
the shuttle bus.
This is quite different. This is an elderly person who has a doctor's or hospital appointment who can't get it. It's not an ambulance.
Yeah. I think it's a very good service.
Yeah,
it's actually one of those crucial ones that again falls through the gaps of government funding.
Yeah.
So this is based in Greytown, Garrick, and they also fundraise for not only the bus, I think it's a 12-seater, but also for the garage to house it in. They work very hard to raise the money, and I can't remember the exact numbers. I did read it, but they do a significant number of journeys. And for a lot of people, if they're elderly or don't have somebody who can drive them, it's an incredible service. And a lot of the drivers, I think they're all pretty much volunteers.
Yeah,
So I would 100% support this.
Oh, Lee.
Duncan's horses doth eat themselves.
What did you have during the interval there, Lee?
Exactly. I gobbled up my calculator.
I agree totally. It's a big and growing problem.
It's a huge area to service down here, and the more people can actually help us, the better.
Yeah.
So
And I think if we could tag to actually for them keep an accurate note of the number of journeys made, so that we can accurately fund them in future years in case they need an increase.
We're locking in $5,000 anyway next year as well.
We are, but it doesn't mean to say that if there's more demand than they need 6, we still should be able to adapt.
Yep. Thank you.
Yep.
Great. Okay, moving right along, we've got application number 6, Wairapa Healthy Homes. So this is one that we do as a joint program, I guess, with Masterton and Carterton.
And ECA.
Yes, and ECA, correct. Yeah.
So I think this was supposed to finish year before last, and they haven't actually achieved their 100%. So I would hope that this is the final year, because we thought it was. They had to come back It's one that we've agreed to, and I think it has incredible benefit, and also dovetails in with our healthy home assessment kits that we've recently distributed through libraries through the Wairapa. So yeah, your call. I mean, there'll be partnership funding as needed.
Yeah.
In case that we actually achieve the desired percentage.
Are we going to give them 4,000 as we did last year, or are we you suggesting 5,000? Given that Carterton are giving 4,000.
Good point. Why
Carterton is doing
the difference?
Carterton 5.
Did Carterton give 4 or 5?
I
5.
gave 4.
Sorry, I
No.
was reading the wrong line. Sorry, everyone. We gave 4,000 last year.
Correct. Yeah.
Oh, so yeah. Gotcha.
I think we give the 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got
So
five.
how many years have we been supporting this?
Oh gosh.
8, 9?
Yes, quite a long time.
Since I've been on council anyway.
Oh, 2, 3.
I wish.
Okay. All right, let's pop in 5K there.
Yeah.
I'll stop being rude to Jeppy.
Okay, next up is application number 7, and that's for Alzheimer's and Disease and Dementia Society, and they're looking for $5,000 to support the work that they do.
Well, I know that the work they do in the South Wairapa is great, because the person who works in this area, she does a lot of home visits on the way to work in the morning and on the way back in the evening. I'm not sure with the $5,000 what we need to put up, but I'll let you guys debate that.
That is interesting, because, and is this a distance related cost? Because Marston's given 1, Carterton's given 2. And that, you know, but it may be that there's a much greater expense because of distance in the South Wairapa. I'm not sure.
Yeah, you're right. This person that delivers it, she does a lot of it. She doesn't get paid for it. It's just a mere fact that she travels from Puranor to Marston, and she does it on her way. So, you know, I think any support that she can get in terms of mileage, you know, she'll keep up the work.
So what's your thoughts on funding, Jeppy?
Well, I'm thinking, yeah, we probably need to look at around the 4 or 5, because we are quite distant from Marston.
Pam?
I'm looking, she's looking to, or they're looking to extend what they're doing and working with the Age Concern, which I think is really good. Age Concern's doing well in Martinborough that I know of. And certainly it is one of those silent diseases that that is very, very hard to know about, and doesn't get as much publicity as some of the other things. So I'd be happy to support around about 4 or 5.
Yep, cool. Garrick?
Question, is it across the whole Wairapa?
Yes.
It is the whole Wairapa, but I'd like to
Based
think,
in Masterton.
yeah.
Okay. So it's our share. I think we're going to, I think we should be paying our share. We're going to pay a bit more. So we're paying 5, the others are paying 2.
We paid 5 last year as well, also.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
And also, I think the comment she made last year was that, you know, these cases can pop up at any time. So there might be 10 patients today and suddenly tomorrow there's 20.
That's right. I do remember that presentation now.
I'd be happy to do 4 or 5. I'll just go with the majority.
Okay, we'll pop down 5,000 for that. That seems to be the. I could have split the difference and been parsimonious, but at 4.5. But let's do 5.
5. Yep.
Go.
Okay. Application number 8, Wairapa Search and Rescue. Now this is for operational costs, but also for providing the Wander Track pendants to patients. So they've asked for partnership funding of $3,007, which is an
Very
interesting
precise.
amount. Yes.
Right, and so we've got a similar amount given to both Masterton and Castleton. It seems Masterton has most of the call outs up in Holdsworth at the moment, but we have had a number out at Naui. Actual helicopter call outs.
Yeah, but they're more Westpac than search and rescue, though.
Right, true. But they could have been. Oh, yeah, that's right. It was too. It said not actually lost people. Yeah.
We get a lot of people from the Aorangi Rangers that they look out for too, don't they?
So we
Well,
gave
you know, recreation, a lot of people getting out and about now more so than ever. I think we really need to support them.
I think so too. Last year we gave them 4.8.
Yep.
They're only asking for 3 this year.
Give them 3.
I'd like to up what they're getting and round that up to 4,000.
Yeah, I can hear Lee reaching for her angina pills as you say that.
Fine, she's coping all right. I can't kick her under the table.
Okay, round the table. So we've got a 4 from Pam. Jeppy?
Yes, 4.
Garrick?
Well, they're only asking for 3, so why are we giving 4?
Because they're such a good organisation.
Well, I'm just looking at their application. They're getting it's ridiculous. They're getting an admin grant of $2,500 from Search and Rescue New Zealand.
Lee?
Look,
I would go with what they requested, 3,000. If I got one, I'd request it. I'd be happy.
Yeah,
and I will go with the 3,007 with apologies to Pam and Jeppy, but I'm Dutch.
Well, I'm more likely to need them than you, Alec, and that's why I went to 4.
And I'm Scottish, so you know how hard 4 was to get out of me.
So are we okay? I think the majority is to put down the full amount of funding request at 3,000.
Which is what they asked for, and they're doing a good job. So it's no problem.
3,000.
Yeah, I think the $7 might be a typo, so I think we'll just go with 3,000.
Yeah.
No, let's put it in there.
And everyone's happy that that's for next year as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally.
But again, I think the proviso, if they're seeing an increase in the number of people that are getting lost in the ranges or anything, and there is a genuine cost that is not being met, they should be able to come back even in a partnership to discuss what the amount that they're going to get.
Yeah.
Pacifica, O Wairapa Trust.
Pacifica.
Which is a new one. I think you saw Luther Taloa come and talk to us. This has been driven out of COVID, the first round of COVID. And I think Luther has made massive inroads into the connecting of Pacifica to other communities and making sure that they are being listened to and looked after when in need. So what are your thoughts on this one? It is a large amount of money, but it ticks a lot of boxes in our social outcomes. Steve, I don't know whether you're able to give us an idea of the number of Pacifica in the South Wairapa specifically.
He's quoting 2,500 in his organisation.
In his organisation, but the South Wairapa specific.
Yeah.
I'm afraid I don't have the numbers on that, but I do think that there's also quite a lot of migrant workers, so that's also important to consider.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Good point.
Yeah, but I don't know whether this is covering Filipino, which is actually probably a larger or as large a percentage, and is being covered through Ryan at the Filipino Society. And they I'm not sure whether there's a dovetail in this as well for the Filipino. I don't think it is. I think this
this doesn't say it is. It's just saying this is for Filipino for the Pacific family.
Yeah, but I think it's a very worthy organisation. I think they were already working very closely with the Marston District Council. Carson have granted them
5,000.
I'm sure that Marston will be much more than that. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm happy with 5.
Yep. Pam?
5.
Garrick?
Yep.
I'd like to look at 5, but going through the accounts, the thing is, if he starts doing more, he's going to need some more support further down the track. So if we can move that next time around,
Totally.
rather than lock it in.
I'd be happy with 5.
Right, there we go, Katrina.
Great, thanks guys.
Easy.
Okay, next up is Featherston Heritage Museum. $4,823.57. Last year we gave it 3,588.
Yeah. So it's a bit of a jump on last year, but costs increase. If I remember correctly, that during the year they ran out of money, and we're actually at the point of not even having their alarm monitored. So I don't think they run with a very big surplus here, and it is so really it's a pretty plain Jane, clear cut application to cover the absolute minimum to run a museum. So what are your thoughts, people?
I'm just a bit concerned that from memory of when I looked at the application, that they're only open 2 days a week. Is that right, Garrick?
I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure they've got a very limited opening time, and I just wonder whether they could be doing more in that regard. But I
think
support
volunteers.
museums.
Their opening is limited to the volunteers available, I think, and a number of organisations are struggling to get volunteers at the moment. What are your thoughts? I think we're the only one of the few sources of funding for them, and they are an asset. They could easily give it to us and make us run it on the community's behalf. So I think we should support them.
Yeah.
Certainly a big part of our heritage, isn't it, with the Falcon, archives, the Rimatakas, and I'd certainly round that up into round dollars. So even if you went 4,824 rather than 50,
or even I would definitely round it up, potentially to 5,000 a year if you were that way inclined, or 4,800. But as it's an ongoing amount, I think round figures probably work a bit better.
I think 5,000. They may have been undercooked their application a bit here, but 5,000 a year to run a museum, including power insurance, is not a huge amount. Siv?
I am just wondering if you could propose to them that they do work more closely together with the other organisations that are just around them and coordinating those volunteers and those opening hours, because they haven't been so successful in doing that in the past, and that would be a good thing to do if they're getting some reliable funding.
I thought they worked closely with Phil.
I don't think they work closely. There has been a request in the past, and there was a document made. And look, I think that's a separate discussion, possibly assets and services. No, not even that. I'm not sure. But I am trying to get a meeting to look at more collaboration over time. But so are we all okay with putting 5K down under partnership funding? Any objections?
Sorry,
I'm happy to do that, but I think we should be looking at some other clever way to amalgamate those offerings, because they're very worthwhile for the community, and it's another destination to go to.
Well, that same damn building.
Yeah. Oh. So yes, I'm happy.
Jeppy?
Yep.
Pam?
Yep. Sorry, when I was talking before, I was thinking it was part of the Fell Museum, but it's not. It's
no, it's quite separate.
Yeah. But these do the military. Is that?
They do a bit of. They do heritage, but they also have the a lot of the mementos from the Japanese prisoner of war camp, including a lot of the artifacts that were made by the prisoners.
Yeah, and they've got fire brigade memorabilia as well, haven't they? Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Lee, you're okay with that?
Yep. Fire. Okay.
I'm good.
Cool. All right, Trina.
Next is application 13, which is Aratoy. They're looking for ongoing funding of 25,000 a year. Last year we gave them 10,000 and they were less than happy. I think it's probably fair to say.
Yeah, which is a bit disappointing that when you give them 10,000, they're not happy. Okay, let's open this up. Lee, you're a fan supporter of Aratoy.
I just got to pop out for a minute, open the door.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I'll wait for JP to come back, shall I? Or
Lee, are you part of Friends of Aratoy?
Actually, I have been a friend, but actually my membership might have lapsed. So thank you for bringing that up.
So should we be declaring a conflict?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
As a friend, I'm a friend of Cobblestones, a friend of the Heritage Trust, a friend of Greytown Little Theatre, etc., etc. My involvement has only been limited to the odd event, such as art and architecture tours, which I've paid for.
Right. Okay. Well, I think we're okay with that.
Yeah.
So to me, one of the conversations that I've had both with Cobblestones, and I believe they'll offer the same service to Phil and the museums around the whole of South Wairapa, that they do provide a lot of professional guidance for all of the museums. And I think you would have heard Chris Hume sharing that a lot of the policies and procedures and the way of handling artifacts and museum pieces, none of the museums in South Wairapa have got the expertise or capability to do that. So they're very generous the way they guide them and share that information. But the thing that I probably hadn't appreciated was they store the majority of taonga, and much of which comes from South Wairapa, and that all has to be climate controlled, etc., etc. So there's a significant collection of that from South Wairapa stored at Aratoy, and I think that is very commendable and necessary. It's not commendable, it's absolutely necessary, or we'd lose a lot of that precious artifacts and so on. It's quite a big collection. So I would support it, and I think they also do support South Wairapa artists, and do events around and have outreach programs. Whether it's for 10,000 a year, I'm not sure. I'd just be open to what everybody else thinks.
If we could just note that Councillor Gibson left the meeting at 7:16 and reappeared at 7:17.
What the hell happened there? But technology.
Okay, Garrick, your thoughts?
You're on mute, Garrick.
There's a lot of money coming in from Masterton. You know, they've got 300,000 in grants. I don't know what Carlton's doing, but I'm not tempted to go to 25,000 for 3 years. You know, it's yes, there's a benefit, and yes, it's doing a good job up there, but that's a big ask out of how much money we've got.
Yeah,
and we've got Cobblestones yet to come.
Yeah, and okay, Pam, your thoughts?
I'm a bit betwixt and between on this one. I know that they have a lot of artifacts and things like that throughout the district that are housed there, and obviously that costs to maintain those in a controlled atmosphere that they need to be in. They do work on a lot of volunteers, and those volunteers come throughout the Wairapa to assist Aratoi. I'd like to support them, but I can't quite work out how much I'd like to support them. But I think we would be terribly lost without what they have.
Yep.
And they do promote local people within the museum as well. So they do have exhibitions in there for local South Wairapa artists and painting and wood turning and things like that. They do have those exhibitions for those artists there. I think I'd probably be more inclined to look at 20 rather than 25. It's probably splitting hairs. I don't know.
We last year we funded them. Was it 10?
10.
GP, your thoughts? Oh, sorry, Pam.
Yeah, I don't think they were happy with that. They had to cut some of their services by not getting as much as they had potentially thought they would get from us. So, yeah.
Well, without going into a big spiel over it, I would, the max I would go to would be 20. I was looking more the 15, but
yeah.
I'll go with the flow.
Okay. Garrick, you've made comment already, haven't you?
Yes. I'd support the 15.
Yeah. My thoughts are we have two museums that we support. One is Cobblestones, one is Aratoi. And to my mind, Cobblestones is where we should be pushing our support if we have discretionary income to spend. I last year, the $10,000 was because they'd actually included a school exhibit that was easily identifiable their activities into the South Wairapa. Do you remember that? It was something to do with a balloon and but some could then directly tag their funding to an activity in the South Wairapa. However, we were being very cautious with our funding last year. I personally would be going to at about the 10, retaining the 10K mark, and then allowing a bit more leeway with supporting Cobblestones in the South Wairapa Museum. Those are my thoughts. So we've got a wide range of numbers.
I would agree with Garrick and do a halfway house of 15, which is not what you think, Pam or Jeffrey, but I'd be comfortable with that.
Yeah, but I said a max of 20, so I'd be happy with 15.
Let's throw in 15 then with a big question mark and just see, because this is a if we've got to have some leeway somewhere if someone's missing out, this may be something we need to revisit.
Yep.
Might just add that by supporting Aratoi, you are definitely supporting a lot of the creative community that are really suffering in the Wairapa, musicians and visual artists.
I think there's a lot of in that area. There's only so much we can do, and especially with the funds we have available. Right. So which then?
Yep, 15,000.
15,000.
Yep. Next up is application number 14, which is Featherston Booktown, and the community portion is $20,000 is what they're asking for.
Can you just remind me how much we gave in, let's see, the children? Yeah, that was
we gave
15.
them
15, yeah.
On the sheet, Katrina, we've got 15 for Booktown.
For the youth portion?
No, this is just under the community. We've got 25, sorry.
25. Sorry, yes, I know. I'm sorry. I've just amended it. Sorry, Pam, because in total they applied for 50, and I had actually put 25 down there, but having reread the application, it was 30,000 for youth they were asking, and 20,000 for running the event each year.
Okay, cool, thank you.
Now, what are people's thoughts on that? I think we had a very good presentation from Peter and Mary.
Oh, we did.
That this is a growing event with still a lot of life left in it to grow, actually, and we're a crucial supporter of this growth. But Garrett, what are your thoughts?
Yes, I totally support the thing. It's going beyond Featherston now. I quite like the idea of the youth grant being added in there. If we do vote on this, we're looking at 2 years out. And I've got in the back of my mind too, I'm thinking about cobblestones. So if we can do 20, I'd be happy.
That would be full funding of their event part of it. Yeah, bear in mind we gave them 15,000 last year, and we've already given them 15 in the youth. So
in the youth, all right.
There are some really good funding coming from the Ministry of Culture and Heritage at the moment as well that they probably could dip into.
Okay.
That said, I'm not sure if I should sort of declare a bit of a what's the word again? Sorry, I'm a bit conflicted with some.
Yeah. Oh, you're not voting, Seb. So
no, that's right. But my opinion might be a little bit going in the other direction because I might be benefiting.
Yeah. We'll just keep you out of it then. I mean, we do know a lot about Booktown.
Yeah.
I've opened Booktown. And I'm as I said once, I'm constantly in awe of what they managed to do with so little, with so much impact. But whatever we can, but we are limited with budgets. So do we want to round the table on this one on dollars? They're requesting 20 in this part.
Can I make a suggestion that we've also had a request, and I think from the for the Greytown Winter Festival, and I think maybe we should just mull those two things together, because if we take the 15 we've already allocated, let's call it Booktown. I know we've split it into youth, but I think we should consider the two events. So with the Greytown Winter Festival, that ran for a month, and there were significant numbers. So
I'd really like them to stand on their own merit. Combine and compare. If we could, with all due respect.
Could we, because we're going to go back over this, can we put in either 15 or 20 to give us some sort of basis on?
Yep, totally. I mean, all of them we're going to go through. I'm going to suggest we fund 10 in this of the 20, which is 50%, as we did with the same ratio for the youth young readers program, but certainly revisit both of them on the second wash.
Yep.
Just if I can just interrupt for a second. I just want to clarify or just point out that the youth funding component of 15,000 was project funding, so that will be a one-off, and this other, the 20,000 that we're looking at now, is the ongoing partnership support. So just so that you're all clear on that.
Happy with that. Yeah.
So
what are your thoughts?
I'm happy with 10. And then I suspect we've overspent at the end. I don't know, but so I'm happy to.
Yeah, we're going through the big dollar ones at the moment, which are Cobblestones, Aratoy, Booktown. Those are the big chunky ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you like an update on where we're at in terms of dollars?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
No. Okay. No.
It might temper our decision.
Okay. Fair enough. Good point. Okay, so we'll put 10 in for them.
10 in.
Yeah.
Great. Next is application number 15, Family Works Wairapa. And this is to pay for their operational funding to help more whānau in the community. And they're looking for 25,000, as ongoing partnership funding.
Right. It's a big chunky amount.
Yeah.
Big money.
Okay. I'm just going to refresh myself, if I may. I've been going through most of these, but I'm just going to double check on their application, if I may. Does anyone else want a couple of minutes to run through that?
Yeah, because they talk about rental. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, and I'm just going to go back and have a look. I'm not sure that we've funded them before, but I'm just going to go and have a look.
Yeah, ongoing rental for 25 grand.
What number application is this again?
15.
Family Works used to work out of Turret House.
Right.
Yeah, and then they've, for whatever reason, I'm not sure, but they relocated up to Masterton. I don't know whether the other wraparound services that go with them, because they deal with the children of families, they deal with violence in the families. So they have, from reading their application, so that they would want the wraparound services. But as far as I know, they've moved out of Featherston into the Masterton area, and I think they had something in that. Yeah, so the 25,000 is just for rent for 1 year in their new location. So
Yeah.
I think they still contribute to South Wairapa, but they're not actually based here anymore.
No, they do say that they, while they're based in Masterton, they are constantly traveling to provide social help in rural and isolated whānau.
Is that number 15? I can't seem
Yeah,
to.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Does anyone know whether there's any other, or Steve might know actually, whether there's other overlap services that we have in the South Wairapa that covers off what Family Works do?
I would say that there isn't a lot of double up. I am really surprised though that they're coming and asking for rent, and I haven't actually been able to look at that particular application. I know that part of the reason that they moved, I think, was that, you know, a lot of the clients that they were dealing with were Masterton based, and maybe that's changed quite a lot over the last year after COVID again.
Yeah, their rent in Masterton is $34,000 per year. Their financials are totally incomplete, in as much as they have a revenue of 29 but outgoings of 214, and they're not saying how the balance is funded. And I know that we've talked about gaps, but this, to my mind, is purely within the scope of a government department to be funding. I'm really, if it's not, I'm appalled.
It comes under Presbyterian support, if I remember correctly.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. And so the Presbyterian Church supports them to a certain extent, but I feel that the government should be helping with some of the things that they're dealing with.
Yeah.
And I see that they haven't tracked exactly where within the Wairapa they are.
I know they could. Yeah. Oh, this is a tough one because I know that they do good work.
Yeah.
But
It's hard to make a call when we haven't got the right numbers in front of us,
Yeah.
because they're talking there about, Trust House 15,000 grant, and they're based
looking at us to pay 25 grand worth of rent on a $34,000 annual rent in Masterton.
in Masterton. This doesn't. I'm having a.
If you're not seeing contributions from Masterton and Casterton, no, they're not putting it in the budget.
No.
I just think we're lacking in a lot of fundamental information, and I'm also concerned it should be funded from central government or other government agencies.
Yeah. So I think I'm in mind to decline, but on the basis of incomplete information, to make a value judgment.
Well, I'm sorry, it doesn't spin my wheels, so
I think their financials are under the Presbyterian Church, so Presbyterian Central Support. So I'm not sure whether that includes other things other than Family Works, or whether it's just the Family Works part of it. It's really hard to tell.
Yeah, it's not very clear.
Yeah, I mean, if it was 2,000, it'd be different, but this is 25 grand, and this is over 10% of our budget. 15% of our budget.
Okay, so are we in agreement with declining at this stage?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But with
Okay.
the at the moment, the reason being not enough information to make a
Yeah.
decision.
Yep, that's fine. We've noted that. So if we move on to Cobblestones, which is application number 17, and they are looking for 25,000.
And just to clarify, we gave 15,000 last year, Katrina.
Mhm.
We've
Yeah,
also
what was that? I was going to say, was that 15 at the end of a 3-year cycle?
It comes up normally, it's up for renewal at the beginning of the new triennium. So we would have
Yeah.
given them 15,000 each year.
Yeah.
so we're not committed to this, Katrina, or I think was it last year that we were committed, weren't we?
Yeah, we were, I think.
Yeah, you're right, actually. So
was the
yes,
last of
that
it,
was
yeah.
15,000 for a 3-year commitment, and that ran out last year.
Council officers have also been giving quite a lot of time in negotiations and discussions with the Greytown Trustees Trust on ownership and leasing on land of both rugby, bowling and cobblestone. So there is a bit of money that's being paid by the council already to cobblestones in the area. However, it is our main feature museum, I suppose, for the South Wairapa. We're not taking away Featherston. Cobblestones, I didn't know, did Cobblestones receive funding from Carson? Did I hear something about that?
Yeah, Cardiff gave them
yes.
7.
Yeah.
7,500.
And they have some grand plans. And I understand that it might be that the tenure on the land is going to be settled, that they do have a more certain future going forward with regards to expansion of exhibits. And they're looking at VR, virtual reality within there, and also restoring the implement shed, what I understand that they want to do. Are we comfortable with increasing from 15 to 25 on a partnership term?
Not happy at the moment, not in this environment.
No.
No, would anybody consider 20? I know that in the past, CDC have funded between 1,000 and 1,500. That's been about the extent of it. And Masterton have been about 2,500, or maybe 3. But they both put money into the new building when that was done as a separate situation.
It was about 10 years ago, wasn't it? Yeah.
2014.
Yeah. Can I, when Katrina comes back, can I
I'm
ask her?
listening. Sorry, I am listening.
I see that for some reason they haven't put in their accountability form, Katrina.
I did note that, and I will ask, because they're usually extremely good with it. So I think it's just it may have got lost. So I will follow up with that. But I think it's just they always do. So I think it's just something they've missed.
Well,
Perhaps we've missed.
I would be all right with 15,000, the same as we did last year.
Yeah, I agree with Pam.
I'm happy with 15.
There seems to be no critical issue which they're actually trying to put their money into. I mean, just they're talking there about well-being outcomes identified. I'm just sort of thinking.
Yeah, I think also they were mentioning that they were having record numbers through, so hopefully that might assist them in additional funding through entrance fees. So
I certainly wouldn't want to go lower.
No.
Okay, I think it's a consensus that we're putting continuing our generous funding at 15,000.
Okay.
Shall I put a question mark beside that so we can review?
All of them have question marks, Pam.
Yeah. Okay.
So next up is application number 18, Dark Sky Society, 9,400. And this I think, just to clarify, I think Viv said, or we spoke about when you were listening to the application, that it was for 1 year only, because I actually think that the three council, or at least Carterton and us, are wanting to form a more permanent long-term relationship if it sort of all comes together. That's my understanding.
With much more structure than what's there now. Yeah. But they need the approval first, don't they?
They do. So, I did ask a couple of pertinent questions with regards to this. Was the totality of what they're required to maintain the operations and get through. It is my understanding that this should be 50% funded by Carterton, but not necessarily through Masterton until such time as they're ready to come into the Dark Sky family, I suppose. But this initial application includes Carterton. I have contacted CDC, and they I think we agree that it's a 50-50 funding. So I would recommend that we go 5,000 with the expectation that Carterton will be funding the balance.
And regional have put in 7.5.
Can I say, when Viv was talking, the ask had gone up to 17,500, if my notes are correct. So
really?
I'm just trying to think.
We'll have to go back to the financials then. Just a moment.
The total was 17,500, but the deficit was 9,400.
And the funding for the balance of that was of the 8,000 was how much?
Greater Wellington, Great Wellington.
Right. So of the shortfall, it is my understanding that South Wairapa needs to pay half and Carterton needs to pay half.
Yeah, well, that's about $5,000 each.
$5,000 each. Yeah.
And GW were paying 7.5.
Yeah.
So I'm going to recommend we put down 5,000 for that, based on my conversation with the Mayor Lang.
Yeah.
Veronica?
Wasn't there something in there about doing the 4,500 for the testing meters as well?
No, they've rented one.
Yeah.
There is
They
the
were
option.
loaned one.
They've borrowed one. Sorry,
They borrowed
from
one.
NZTA. However, I have got a standing offer from, well, I don't know whether it's still open, from Wellington NZ, from their economic development, to fund one if they find that they need one on a more long-term basis. So don't worry about that as part of the budget.
Okay, so it's 5,000 you're talking about.
Yep.
Okay, next application is number 19, Wairapa Safer Community Trust. Now, we have been funding the insurance on their vehicles for many, many years, since 1995. But we just wanted to be a lot more transparent and bring them into the grants process, so that it was clear that we were actually funding this.
How much are we talking about?
$1,100.
Thank you.
I think that's an absolute
Yep.
no-brainer.
Yep.
I think we've discussed in the past, and I would love to be able to do it, is that the Featherston one really need an upgrade of their vehicle to a four-wheel drive. I think they only do something, it's very slow case, but they wouldn't do more than 3,000 Ks a year. So the car they have has got incredibly minimal, but it's not very good in a rural environment if they need to move outside of the town centre. So, but I think that's a different conversation to have regarding funding the vehicle. So
Yeah.
We're just talking insurance now.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a no-brainer here, guys. I really think.
Yeah.
Yep. Happy with that.
Okay, good.
I keep losing my picture for some reason. It's probably because I'm ugly. They're
Probably
killers.
is. Okay, move on to application number 23, which is Martinborough Y Waste and Food Box Charity. And they are looking for ongoing funding of $10,000 a year.
Yeah, so we had you remember the presentation from Peter and
May.
Mate, yeah.
across. This is an interesting and a volatile industry that they not an industry, but charitable area that they're in with bulk funding due to COVID, but being very panicky about how it can be spent, and they need to justify the increase. They do incredibly good work, but we're not, and I suppose Featherston's food bank has the Featherston's own charitable trust, which
Correct.
provides a funding stream for them.
So when I was involved with that, and I'm no longer, so that's all right, they were pretty much standalone. They got an awful lot of, Featherston's own charitable trust was there to support them if they needed to, but it was at least 80% self-funded.
So I mean, again, it's a substantial amount of money, but as we can see, it's needed. You know,
My God, they're doing a lot of good work at the moment.
yeah. I did manage to broker their current enlarged premises at the Masonic Lodge, and so that's been a very a grateful larger area to operate out of, the central location. But it's really, if I remember correctly, it's really just deliveries, packaging, you know, those essentials that are required to, even if they get everything donated, that they still need to have out-of-pocket expenses to actually run the operation. If we don't fund this, what are we doing?
Alex, have you got any other funding sources for that?
There is bulk funding through MSD, but only from an emergency perspective.
Okay.
There is also food that comes from Y Waste Wairapa. And there are also community organisations that will give them. But as May mentioned, it's the petrol, it's the sellotape, it's the boxes, it's the other bits and pieces that tend to be left out of the cracks. So,
well, I think they have to actually travel to Masterton, I believe, to Y Waste to pick up the food. Yeah.
So I don't think a cent of this is not actually needed.
Yeah.
What are other people's thoughts, Chippy?
Oh, look, it's at the moment, it definitely is, it's filling a big gap. Just wondering, maybe Pip would have known more about what they do, or Pam, what's your view? I mean, you're closer to it than I am.
There's certainly a huge number of families that they're that they're catering for, and that increased with what the COVID, when COVID was on, then they had even more families there. I know, I'm pretty sure the Marais does some families in the community as well as what the food bank does. They do get donations, but I think it's still pretty tight budget to run, and probably even into a deficit.
Well, in light of the a lot of the volunteers are forking into their own pocket to pay the fuel costs and all the rest, right? I mean, we can't ignore that because they're volunteering their time. You know, you can't expect them to pay all the costs too. I mean,
they also go above and beyond. They provide, they set people up with training and education opportunities, and link them up with other organisations that can support them and financial capability and mental health. And I think they're running a variety of workshops. And the whole kaupapa that they have is around, I guess, rather than being a food bank, which they obviously are a food bank, but they're wanting to build that positive picture around self-help. So I think
we did have a presentation, if you remember.
Yeah, it's also a huge area. They're going right now. That's the
I think they should. We just put it in there for that amount, and we were going to go
Yep.
back and revisit it. And
yeah.
so we'll
Otherwise, yep.
call it
I'm with
there.
you, Jeff.
Cool. Okay with that.
So, I'm sorry, we're going to put the 10,000 in?
Yes.
Yeah, with a question mark to see, that we might have to ask someone else to contribute.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
next. Sorry, are we all good?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, next application's number 25, volunteering Wairapa, and they are looking at $2,500.
1,500.
2,500.
Yeah, I reckon we should give them 1,500. If you look at the other councils, what they've
Yeah.
put to 5 to 15. They do a good job, but
They do.
1,500.
They do a good job, but there's very few things. They do more in Carterton and Masterton on the volunteering basis than they do in South Wairapa. So I would be happy with 1,500.
Yeah, it's also interesting, and not to lessen what they do, but there's a platform that I noticed that a number of Featherston businesses are now using, or organisations are using, which is basically like a trade me or a seat for volunteers. And if you're going to use a platform like that, which has virtually zero costs to maintain, that may be more beneficial than a very manual process. But I'm more than happy to give it, because I do know how much good they did during the first COVID breakout. And when we needed qualified volunteers as opposed to spontaneous volunteers. So.
Yeah. And I must say, it's not for lack of trying in the South Wairapa to get businesses to be involved and volunteers to be involved too. So they've done lots of things here.
So I'd be happy with putting in 1,500 around the table. Anyone else, Garrick?
I'm with it.
I'm happy with that.
I'm happy with that.
I'm happy with that.
Jolly good. That was easy.
Great. Moving on. Application number 26, Country Village Heaven. This is for the Christmas festival, and they are looking for ongoing funding of 25,000 a year.
Lee, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this.
I'm sure Lee's got thoughts, but we'll start with Garrick.
I'm comparing them to the other key ones that are going through. And if we're looking at things like cobblestones and Booktown, that to my mind is setting the sort of ballpark for where we're going.
Yeah.
Which is around 20.
I mean, I'm going to actually now ask. No, we'll carry on. I'm not going to ask for Telly.
Fine, sorry. And I also like some more. I'd like some more stats on how many. I mean, the thing is growing, and it's a seed capital thing to my mind. We're encouraging them to get off the deck and get it going, and it's going well.
Yeah. Pam, your thoughts on this?
It was very popular in the they did the midwinter Christmas thing in Greytown, didn't they?
Yeah, this is it. Yeah.
So grab.
So that was very popular, and it got quite a lot of national coverage on it, both through the TV and through the paper. I'm not sure that I would support it to 25,000 for 2 years. We're not even supporting our museums to that extent, and this is for 1 month in a year, whereas the museums are 12 months in a year. So I think it's a great idea, and it brings people in accommodation and visitors and all that sort of jazz to Greytown and probably Featherston and Martinborough in the whole thing, but certainly not to 25,000.
Yeah.
Lee.
Look, it's been very, very successful. One of the things that they have done, which I like a lot, is they've been very inclusive with community groups and given them fundraising opportunities. And I know, Lions, Red Robins, Rotary, etc., Rail Trail, another one. It's 12 that they gave opportunities there, 12 different groups. And I think in what it does do is in winter is the quietest time in South Wairapa. And from the research that I've seen, that most of the visitors visited Featherston and or Martinborough or both. So I think it's a real economic boost at a very, very quiet time for the region. And in total, now I do have to check this, but I think in total, they believe they had about 40,000 visitors over the month, the period of the month. And certainly it gave a big boost to hospitality, retail, and quite a lot of children's events, which was nice. So I would fully support it, but I'm mindful of your comments, Ham and Garrett and Jeppy. So for the first 2 years, we've given nothing. I think the community board gave $500. So I'd be comfortable with 15. I don't know how that sits with everybody else. It's certainly been an astronomical success with massive media coverage right throughout New Zealand, and demographics. People have come from Auckland, Hawke's Bay, predominantly the North Island. I haven't heard of too many from the South Island, but so I'm going to suggest 15, but I'd be interested to see what you think.
Well, to a degree, I put it in the same category as the dark sky. The dark sky's got the, that's going to bring huge benefit to the South Wairapa. I see this, I didn't go to this Christmas festival in Greytown, but I had family members that did, and they were absolutely over the moon about it. I'm not sure whether I'd put that much money in it. I think I'm probably more of the 10 than the 20, but there we go.
Cool. Well, my thoughts are that it's a fantastic event. It's been very well organised. It is very beneficial to business owners, and as such has been organised by the Business Association. And it seems to have run pretty well without council support up to now. I'll take on point though the point of I would be closer to 5 to assist in the cost of putting up lights, buying more lights and permanent exhibits, that hardware for it, but I don't think it requires our funding at this point to any major extent.
I think we need to grow it more, which is why I'm happy to support it.
Give it time, man.
Yeah.
So around the table, I was taking notes as we went. It sort of ranged between 20 and 10, apart from old miserly me.
I would be happy with 5, because I think that's what we're supporting the dark sky with, and on reconsideration, they had $107,000 worth of sponsorship in their financials. So
I think the next Greytown Christmas, didn't they say that they had Wellington, New Zealand events funding to the tune of?
They had more for this year. You're talking about the event, yes.
It was 100 this year and 50 next year. Yeah, well, that's some substantial, serious money.
Yeah.
For an event that's being funded by the Business Association very successfully from a business uptake.
I think it would be not correct to say it's been funded by the Business Association, some funding, but certainly it doesn't cover it by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put 15. Alex has said 5.
Pam says 5.
Garrett says...
I was at 15, but I can be pushed around.
We know that. We'll put 15 down. And Jeppy?
Well, I was erring on the side of 10, but Pam brought up a very good point. We gave the dark sky 5. I think I'm coming back to the 5.
So that puts us on around about the $8,000 to $9,000 average. Are we happy with that?
Yep.
9,000?
Do we want to settle on a figure?
How
Should we
about
put
10?
down-
10. It's going to go out for 3.
Yeah, so I hear 8.
Yeah.
I hear 5.
I had 10.
I think let's put down $8,000, which is the average of all of us. We're not all that far away from it, but we'll look at that in the second wash.
We're all happy with that. Next one is the Featherston Community Patrol, application number 27. And they're looking for, once again, very specific amounts.
And 16.
Let's say $3,500, shall we?
Yep.
I'm
I'd
abstaining
support 'em
from
for
this
that.
one.
Yeah.
I'd support them for that. Yep.
Yep, same.
Yeah, I'm right.
Yeah.
I mean, they do it. They cover a huge area, and it's all voluntary.
Absolutely.
And they do a good job, and they've got a great track record.
Yeah, you did right, Garrett.
Good, that's nice and easy. Is everyone happy with that?
Yep.
Sorry, what
Good.
was the figure? Katrina?
3,500.
3238. 16.5. Yeah.
Don't
So
forget
is
the
that
16
3238?
cents.
No, I was suggesting we round it up to 3,500, seeing it's partnership funding.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, and
So-
that's going forward.
Yeah, the next one is application 40 for the Fell Locomotive Museum, and they're only wanting $2,000 a year from us.
That's what they've
And
had
there
for the
we
last
go.
few years.
Yeah,
Yep.
go with
So
that.
that's an easy one.
Very
Yeah.
happy
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Digital Seniors is up next, number 41, and they're wanting $10,000 from us.
Digital seniors.
Oh,
Do normally support them, pretty
Yeah,
sure.
tune of 2,000 last year.
Mm.
I think it's a rising problem as technology outpaces, and we do have an aging population. That there's probably more demand for their services.
Yeah.
I could have done with the buggers the other day, but
Yeah, Jeppy's a case in point that he's constantly. However, and it is a large amount of money. It does tick our boxes with regards to our positive aging strategy.
I do also think that the library also is getting a lot more into this as well, but that's just yeah.
But also, if you recall, they were always a bit cagey about the numbers in the past. So Community Board Project in Greytown had generated the biggest number of numbers, which I think got to 80 clients. So I'm just still a bit patchy on the actual figures that benefit South Wairapa. I support them, but I think they have got other funding streams as well. So I'd be happy to do the same as we did last year, because I see also, I've been following in the press that there's more and more groups who are now looking at how they can help in that space. So
I think digital seniors that operate out of the ANZAC, the Anglican Church Hall, are very, very popular in in the Martinborough and South area. They get a lot of clients. They're always busy, and I would certainly support them by half of what they want.
It has been raised a very good point, though, that the libraries are now providing this service, which they didn't provide previously, and that is a cost to council and the ratepayer anyway.
Sorry, I think Pam and Lee, you guys should be all over this anyway, but with being on the Wairapa Library Services, but I think it is funded at the moment under those that government funding for the librarians, I think, isn't it? That's my understanding.
Yes.
And that potentially ends in about 6 months.
But yeah,
Look, I'm happy
I
to
think
fund
it's
them what they
totally
funded them.
different.
Yeah. I'm happy to fund them what we funded them last year. I'll take into account Pam's comment, but I think that funding in conjunction with what's happening in the libraries may be ticking the boxes that we need to tick. Lee, your thoughts?
I'm happy with that because I think there are other funding opportunities, and the libraries are doing a lot with those extra staff we've got at the moment.
Yeah.
Garrick?
Yeah, I know. I'd agree with Lee to say that I think the libraries are doing a good job.
Yeah. And Jeppy, if you can suspend your obvious need for their services anyway. Okay. There's people in too, but Pam, I'm sure that we're all more than happy to look at putting some more in if there is more available.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, next up is Martinborough Museum, application number 42, and they're wanting $2,000 per year.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very much the same as the fell and the
Yeah.
Is that enough?
Yeah. Well,
They're asking for.
That's what they've asked for. Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
Okay, next up is Wellington Free Ambulance, number 43, 10,450, and that's based on our population, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do we need to discuss this, or is this?
Yeah, we need to discuss it because I think that the population, it's an old census they were using, wasn't it? Because I think we commented on that last year that there was more population than what we were actually funding under.
Yeah. I think that may be the case, but they've asked for that, and it ticks our requirements.
Yeah.
And because these are published in their annual report every year. And the two standouts, there are two councils that don't fund at that rate, and they truly stand out.
Yes.
Okay.
But we are pushing at a national council level with an LGNZ for this to be funded correctly through the Ministry of Health.
Yeah.
So
Good point.
I think it actually got a round of applause when this remit was put forward. So there may be some pressure, and this may not be but until such time as that is we need to fund this.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just as a
Totally
point of interest, I asked a couple of friends who are councillors from other areas, one in Porirua, and they do same sort of funding, $1 a head, and have funded them for a number of years.
There are two
Given a
councils, I
grant,
won't name them, that don't.
Sorry?
There are two councils that don't, but I won't name them.
Two that are blank on the side.
So full funding for them.
Yes.
Okay, guys, we're up to the last one at the moment. So application number 45, this was the Community Networks Wairapa, which was the one that you got in late. And they're looking at $5,000 a year. Now, Steve might be able to give you quite a good update on these guys, but I know that we didn't fund them last year, and they moved out of the South Wairapa was my understanding. But if Steve's still on the line, she might be able to give us.
I'm pretty sure they haven't moved out of the South Wairapa. They still host meetings at the Featherston Community Centre.
Yeah.
But what happened last year as a result of COVID was that a lot of Zoom meetings immediately went online. And they resolved to, I think, keep that sort of Zoom meeting in between other face-to-face meetings as a general rule. I think that they provide immense value to all of those social service organisations and also community organisations all across the Wairapa to get that sort of cross-disciplinary, cross-expertise networking to increase the wellbeing outcomes for the community. I think they're very worthy of funding.
Yeah, I do remember the application from last year, and we struggled with it because they had a request for something like 30 or 28 or something $1,000, but it appeared to be an all or nothing application, and we really struggled with this, saying why are we looking at reducing it if they can't do it for less. We were also, I think, had just come out of COVID or going into COVID. We just come out of COVID.
Yeah, from my memory, I think what happened was the year before last, we partially funded them, and they couldn't deliver all of their services. So then last year, when it became obvious that, as you say, Alex, it was an all or nothing thing, because I'm pretty sure they said, well, if you don't give us the whole amount, we won't be able to stay in the South Wairapa. And I do remember it was a very difficult decision for you all to make on that one.
Yeah, and
But,
they did, the coordinator, they did stop in the South Wairapa when we dropped our funding.
And I think their main raison d'etre at the time, and it may be that it's changed, is very much ensuring that they had lists and knew where people were and were able to contact people. And at the time, emerging out of COVID was a lot of people getting involved in that area. It may be that I'm just looking at the funding for 5,000 and how different it is this year compared to last, whether they've really changed their modus operandi and dropped it down to being very much a maintaining list. Siv? I
think you may be confusing it with the Connecting Communities Wairarapa. So they are the exact description of what you are talking about. And yes, they had to withdraw their services when they weren't fully funded or partly funded. The community networks Wairarapa have never been funded by South Wairapa District Council.
Thank you. Sorry, look, you're absolutely right.
We were confusing that.
If you give me 10 minutes to go back to the application.
I'm sorry, Katrina, what number is this?
It's number 45. Now, it was one that Suzanne would have sent out just in the last few days with the agenda.
It's on the bottom.
It will be right down the bottom, and Stella.
But that's not in the spreadsheet, is it?
No.
No.
No, it's not there.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, it should be.
It's in the spreadsheet on Stella, appended to the agenda.
But not on my Excel.
No, sorry, because it was one that was added later.
Yeah.
They actually sent us the application really early, like March or something, and it just it got sort of. I didn't go back that far in my emails.
I think also they did think, like, was it for you, Alex said before, they worked really closely with the Wairapa Emergency Centre when COVID did hit, and they were part of reaching out to a number of those volunteers that were then able to support the community. So they're definitely, I think, definitely shown their worth, and I think, you know, they work across the community, and they're also looking at how they can kind of reconfigure themselves to better support different key areas of well-being in the community. So I think what they've highlighted is sort of particular focus and workshop groups around youth, COVID recovery, and possibly housing and seniors.
What they don't talk about is where they're funded from, to the tune of 77,000.
No.
Is this Fab Feathy, or is this DIA, or is this?
No, so I'm not up to date with that, but I do know that they may have received funding possibly from MSD that have bumped up their funding, but I'm not sure. They would have in the past have gone to DIA, definitely.
So the main sources are through grants and donations from government and philanthropic trust to cover all operational expenditure.
That's very unspecific.
I'm just looking through their financials to see if I can see that.
Yeah. Look, but what they're doing makes sense. But are there other organisations doing this, like which I understood was its actual core reason, which is building community through better groups?
Well, they're the ones that bring all the groups together under.
They're supposed to, yeah.
Yeah, and they do.
So they do good work, Steve, but there are other people doing the same work.
I wouldn't say there is no one in the Wairarapa that's doing the same work as they are, to my knowledge, and they have been existing since when would it have been, 2015, Possibly. I
Wow.
think they were under, initially, they were under safer communities maybe, or connecting families or something like that.
Right. I mean, it's a bit light in the
Yeah.
in the details, but I will take on board your comments, and I actually think it's well and truly worthy.
Here we are. Here's their funding. They got funding from COGS 5,000, Eastern Central 10,000.
Did you find that?
Mastered in their financials. Masterton District Council 2.5, Trust House 15. So they got 32,500 in donations.
I'm just not seeing that, but that's interesting.
That's on page 9 of their financials.
Okay, I don't think I've got them attached.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Oh, there we go. There we go. It's on a totally different part of Stella. There we go. Got it.
Yeah.
Sorry for this flopping around like this, guys.
Page 9, did you say?
Yeah.
There they are.
Just
So,
looking to see if there's anything else from the where the government money is.
Yeah.
so there's, have I reading this right? They're helping 20 families from what it says.
So they lost 3 of their funders this year, which is up to 2020. They lost the lotteries, they lost NECOW, and they lost working together. So they lost 33,500 of their funding.
Oh, yeah.
From the
You
previous
gotta
year.
wonder why.
It's very difficult at the moment. I mean, the way that, say, lotteries have reprioritised recently has cut so many organisations off key funding.
So you can confirm that they do a lot of work in the South Wairapa.
Absolutely. Yes.
Well, in this
Yeah.
case, I'm going to propose that we equal Masterton's grant of 2,500. What are people's thoughts? If you're uncomfortable, let me know. We're able to be open. It is a last
So
minute.
I've got a question for you, Siv. So when I read that application, it says they've helped 20 families. It's unclear whether those are 20 families in South Wairapa. It's not clear at all.
Are you sure that's the correct application? Which page is that on?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll
This
have
is
to
to
go
do with facilitating community networking. So.
Yeah.
And I think that was a different application. I remember that number from a
Oh,
different.
no, this is the Wairapa Safer Community Trust.
Yeah, no, this is the community.
This is
network.
community networks.
Yeah.
Anyway, what are people's thoughts? Or do you want to keep reading, guys?
How much
No,
did they ask? 4 or 5, weren't they? They were asking 5.
I think that's our last one. Should we just throw in, say, a couple of $1,000s and see how it looks?
Yep.
Happy with
We'll
that.
get
The last
on
one
to
on the board, and if we're
Put a
over,
question mark. I thought we
got a
could
question
equal
mark. I'm
Master.
not convinced about the economics. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Are you all ready? Drum roll, please.
Okay.
Okay. Youth grants, we had $75,000 available. We've allocated $74,238. So almost all of it, $700 short. 175,000 we had for community grants, and we've allocated 152,240. So there's $22,760 left in community and $762 left in youth.
Well, I'm
We've done
gonna.
very well.
Okay, let's run through again then where we have question mark, but I'm actually kind of comfortable with that to be left in the kitty.
Have we covered all of them? That's
We
it.
have, yes.
Are we allowed to do second round?
I put a good word in for the Featherston Community Centre, because the The application that they made, I'm really surprised that they haven't gone for a partnership funding. And I did used to run the community centre, so I can't be impartial here. But what they are...
So, with respect, we've had a good conversation about that, and we have quite a bit of knowledge on the community centre. So, thank you.
So you don't want to hear any more of that?
No. We've got to consider all applications on their merit in a similar manner.
All right, fair enough.
We did, Alex, and that we did put a question mark, even though we hadn't allocated any funding to it. We did put a question mark beside it.
Okay, and so we'll now run through the question marks as from top to bottom as we.
Sorry,
start.
I didn't mark the question mark one, so can I rely on
I'm sure
you,
Pam did.
Yeah.
Pam did.
Thought you would, Pam.
Read them out, Pam.
So we start, the first one was number 9, which was the Pacifica o Wairapa Trust, and they asked for 10 and we've given them 5.
Okay, what number was that again?
Number
9.
9, right. I think 5 is about the right money. I really
I'm happy with that.
Yeah,
I'm happy with that too.
I'm happy with that.
Okay.
The next one, Pam?
The next one was Featherston Community Centre at 11, but because we haven't got anything in there, shall we just go through the others first and then come back to that last?
Right. No, we can look at the basis of our decision making, which is, and I think
for 5, 8.
8.5 they are.
8.5, yeah.
Yeah,
And
but given the amount of money they have received in the last 12 months, I'm very surprised that we have had any applications. Yeah, I really am.
For the notes that I wrote, that we've already that there is a lot that's been allocated there from the PGF fund, but also in the Costa Council for relocating their services to Anzac Hall through the COVID period, while they've got the facility set up there.
Yeah, and the financials that we have, we don't know what that has, because I do remember I connected the community centre with the DHB with regards to a location, and I said to that there was expected that a market rental would be paid. It was not a freebie. So I would like to think that it's been a bit of a windfall for the community. We're not seeing that in the financials.
No.
But certainly, we will be certainly going, yes, they need 10 grand here, to keep the building running, but they've had 200 in the last 12 months. So I would think that should sustain them for a number of years.
Yeah.
And I'm quite firm on that.
I agree with you, Alex.
Yeah.
So we're nothing on them?
Yeah.
Yep.
And is that the reason that they've had additional
they should have had additional funding, that they're well ahead of where they would normally be from a building maintenance and perspective, but we're more than happy to look at it again next year.
Okay. Cool. So the next one is number 13, which was Aratoi. They asked for 25 and we've given them 15 at this stage.
So we've increased by 5 grand over last year.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm comfortable with that.
So, Katrina, can you just tell me again, sorry to be a nuisance.
That's right.
22.
So we're up to 150,240 that we've approved.
Yep.
For 152,240 for community.
Yep. I'll just to make sure I've got it right.
Yeah.
So we've got 26 left, more or less.
Something like that.
Yep.
22. I've got 22,760.
So where are we? We're Aratoi.
I'm comfortable with 15 because
it's more than last year.
If I can just play, can I just play devil's advocate for a moment? And I just want to add up for you how much we've allocated so far in partnership funding, because of course that's going to reduce how much you can give people next year. So partnership, $155,550. So that's out of the combined. Sorry, just let me get my
170 for the community.
Oh, sorry, that actually included youth as well. Although I'm not sure that we gave any partnership funding to youth. Yes, we did. Yes, we did for Wairapa Whānau Trust and yeah. So in total, it was 155,550.
So which was the other one that was partnership funding for the youth grant?
For the youth, sorry, let me just scroll back up.
And you said something else.
Wairapa, no, that got nothing. Wairapa Youth Orchestra got nothing. No, it was just the Whānau Trust.
Okay, cool.
Oh, hang on. House of Science, sorry, House of Science, $5,000.
Yeah,
So 30,000 of the 75 for youth is partnership funding.
Yeah, cool.
Which leaves you 40,000 next year that you can give out in project funding. And I think it's about 120,000 that we've got for community partnership funding, which only gives us about 50,000 next year that we can give out in project funding.
But all of the ones that we've given out, I think, to temper that, are ones that we gave out last year. And
yes, I agree. I just think you just need to be mindful of that. Yeah.
So what other question marks do we have, Pam?
Okay, so that was Aratoy. We're going to leave at 15. Hold on, I'm on my next page. We had cobblestones at 15 with a question mark.
Now, cobblestones, I am amenable to giving them more.
Yep.
In as much as we're supporting a regional museum in the South Wairapa. What are people's thoughts if we pop that up a bit, but 17.5 or 20? Because if I note down, there were a few 20s in our list of numbers that we were bandying around.
Yeah, I'm happy with 20.
Well,
I'm happy with 20.
Yeah.
I think they've done a huge amount of.
Yep.
What really impresses me is fundraising. They really have worked hard.
Cool. Pam?
I think I'd rather put the extra 5 into cobblestones than into Village Haven.
Cool. Garrick?
Yeah, I agree with Pam. I'm just nervous about what's going to happen to the other big ones further down the track.
Well, right.
But that's okay.
Well, we'll have a nervous extra 5 there. On to the next question mark.
Sorry, what was it? Which one was that? Sorry.
Cobblestones.
Cobblestones, an extra 5. Okay, that's great.
So they're now 20.
Okay, that's fantastic.
Who are actually, interestingly, are part of the Midwinter Christmas Festival of Lights. Is that of interest?
Yeah, because they took part in it. Yeah. The next one is number 23, which is Martinborough Y Waste and Food Box Charitable. So that we've got a question mark against 10 there.
I'm happy with 10, given where we're sitting.
They asked for 10. I think we'll give them 10.
Yeah, we were just worried that we were blowing budget.
Yes.
I'm happy with that.
Yeah, okay, cool. Then the next one we've got with a question mark is number 26, which is Country Village Haven. So they asked for 25 and there was a split decision. Some said 5 and some said 8, and we've put 8 in at the moment.
Yeah,
I'd like to move it up to 10.
Yeah, 10.
10, yep.
Yep.
Right.
And then the next one is Wellington Regional Sports Education, and they asked for 3 and we've given them 2.
No, I'm happy with that.
I'm happy with that.
I think we talked that through quite.
Yeah,
we did.
Okay, 2 it is. Then the next one is 29, which is the Papawai Community Trust, and they asked for 11 and we've offered them 2 with a question mark, with the suggestion that Garrick talks to them about Rotary support and things like that.
I think that we offer a collaborative approach to continuing their funding and expanding the. I think that's the right money, and I think there's a lot of money out there that we can pull in.
And I think it's
So
not.
when you're doing your notes, Katrina, if we could also say that the Greytown, could be all councillors are happy to work with them to look at other funding streams such as Greater Wellington Regional Council.
And suggest that they have we do a meeting, or they get in touch with us regarding a meeting.
I'm happy to, orchestrate that if you want to put my name in.
Cool.
Okay, the next one is number 39, and that is a one-off for Wairapa, and they asked for 12, and we've got 6 there.
I'm still happy with 6.
Are you?
I'm still happy with 6.
Okay.
We've talked
Don't
that through
want to
quite
put
nicely.
more in? You
No.
don't want to put more in?
No.
Okay, and that's it. Nothing else has got a question mark.
So what are we up to?
Does that pops it down to about
15,760.
I'm happy with that. Is everyone
Yep.
happy with that?
More than happy.
Sorry, what are we up to now for money?
15,000
Oh.
and change for
160,000 spent.
So we've allocated 74,238 for youth and 159,240 for community. A total allocated of $233,478 out of the 250,000 available.
Okay.
right. People, are we happy with that?
Haven't we?
I think that's actually been a very good, prudent
Yeah.
running
I think
through
it's
of
great.
the applications and matching the money.
So in terms of the partnership agreements, the idea was that we enter into quite a simple sort of MOU with each of the organisations, and putting some deliverables in there. And what I suggest is, I've written some notes. What I suggest is definitely an annual report from each of them, just detailing what they've achieved. What numbers for museums have been through their doors, that sort of thing, and also a set of financials.
Yep.
Jolly good. That can run through to me as the chair.
Yes.
If you want to, I can distribute it through to you just to make sure that we've got the tone of those letters right.
Yep.
Not that we don't trust you, just make sure we haven't left
No,
anything out.
that's fine. Yep, we can do that.
So with that, councillors, I'm going to offer a resolution. If we could have a mover, and Katrina, I'm going to stop to allow you to put some figures into my mouth, to community grant applications as agreed to a combination total of.
Sorry, let me get down the bottom of my spreadsheet.
223.
$133,478.
To undertake the project.
Oh, sorry.
No,
I
that's wrong.
apologise. Are we
That's
doing
wrong.
community? We're doing community. $159,240.
To undertake projects that will be outlined in the minutes of this meeting. Do we have a mover for that? Thank you, Lee. Seconded, Jeppy. Thank you. All those in favour, please raise your hand. All those against, the motion is carried. And resolution 2, may we have a mover to grant youth grant applications a combined total of
$74,238.
to undertake projects as outlined in the minutes of this meeting. Moved by Pam Colenso, seconded by Garrett Enns. Thank you very much. All those in favour, please raise your hand. All those against, the motion is carried. And if that's fantastic, we can now close this meeting. And well done, everyone. I thought this was going to be a right bit of a nightmare, given that we were juggling projects funding and partnership funding, but it went very smoothly. Thank you very much.
And my calculator is still hasn't exploded.
My God, what's that? 1970.